What's up, y'all? What's up? This your boy Gerald Jackson from the North Carolina Beat, live in New York City, where Sean Diddy Combs is on trial tomorrow. The jury will get the case. His fate is in their hands, and the defense closing arguments are in. Everything is in. Did the defense do enough? Did they do enough to convince the jury that Sean Diddy Combs is not guilty, or will the prosecution's case seal his fate? Is he already planning the 4th of July cookout, or is Sean Diddy Combs getting ready to have a nervous breakdown behind bars tomorrow? The judge will give the jury its instructions, and immediately after, they will start their deliberations. The North Carolina Beat, Gerald Jackson right here. I am live in New York, y'all, until a verdict is reached. So listen, so tonight, y'all, I want to thank y'all for coming on. Make sure you share the live tonight. Make sure you tag somebody. Okay, now listen, I got these transcripts up here from Friday that I want to go through, and we want to read them because it's very, very interesting. So we can finish hearing what the defense had to say, and then we can hear the rebuttal and what they had to say, just so y'all know what was going on in the courtroom. All right. Shout out to everybody that's tuned in right now on Facebook and YouTube. Make sure you thumbs up the video, as you come on in here. Make sure you tag somebody, and shout out where y'all watching from. Where y'all watching from? Oh, stay in focus. You in New Jersey. What part of New Jersey you in? What's up, Sharon? Hello, Rosalind. What's up? What's up? Hello, Renee. What's up, Rashawn? Jessica said, I don't think we're going to have a verdict tomorrow, maybe Tuesday. Who said we're going to have a verdict tomorrow? The jury gets the case tomorrow, but you don't know what a jury will decide or how fast they will have a verdict, okay? They might go in there and say, not guilty, not guilty, not guilty. Come on out. Tampa, Florida, Tennessee in the building. Georgia, I got you, Chastity. I see you. South Jersey here. Utica, New York. Okay, what's up? Rocky Mount in the building. Okay, Ohio, Bridgewater, New Jersey. Okay, Alabama. What's up, Miss Carol, Aunt Carol, Kirsten? What's up? Oh man, y'all deep up in here. Make sure y'all share the live. Come on, y'all. Thumbs up the video, heart the video. Greensboro. What's up, Kiana? How you doing on tonight? DC in the house. Y'all ready to get into it? Now listen, let me just tell y'all something. Y'all, I'm ready to come home. I'm ready to come home, but sometimes my job take me places I don't know. They don't know how to cut no hair up here. I think the barber pushed my hairline back a little bit. I'm not used to all this stuff. I was scared. I wanted to call my barber and say, hey, can I fly you up here and you cut my hair and fly you back? But I thought that was doing a little bit too much. What y'all think? Shout out to everybody as you come in tonight. Make sure you share the live, tag somebody, let somebody know that Gerald is live. Now, I got these transcripts up here. Now, let's go ahead and get on to it. We ain't gonna waste no time. Because we got to go to bed tonight so we can get up in the morning and be down there at the courthouse. Okay, y'all. So listen. Remember, let me go back. Hold on, wait. Where's my phone? Let me go back to the part where we last left off. Y'all remember where we last left off? On my notes where I was telling y'all about the Kid Cudi situation. Hold on, I got it right up here. Let me see what page we need to go to. 7802. Hold on. How y'all doing tonight? What y'all do today? What y'all do this weekend? What did y'all do this weekend? Let me know what y'all did this weekend. Did you go outside? Was it too hot? Did you barbecue? What did y'all do? Did you and your husband make up? Did you go make your child support check? Did you sell some stamps? Did you get you some crab legs? What did you do? Okay, let me get this on. Come on. Hold on. Where I'm at 7802. Here we go. Okay. So remember, so I think the last part we left off at was church all week. Jamal, you've been in church all week. I've been in church all week. Gene said, Dallas, watching. How you doing? I'm doing good. Oh, you just went to church. What's up, Osha? What's up? How you pronounce it? Is it O'Shea or Osha? Yard work. Okay. No, that's right. Staying focused said, Gerald, I did nothing. I relaxed first weekend. I did nothing. Okay. Asia, what you did? I went to the pool and grilled out. And today I went to the beach. Oh, you can cook, Asia? All right, y'all. Can y'all see the screen? Let me get my iPad. Can y'all see everything good on the screen, y'all? I'm using StreamYard tonight. Hold on. Let me go over here on Facebook and just make sure that oh yeah, y'all can see it good. Okay, y'all can see it real good. All right, y'all. So listen, you remember I was telling you that how the prosecution, right? The government tried to make it seem like that D-Rock, that Diddy had D-Rock, which is one of his security guards, go and try to pay Mia off, but it was just Mia saying that she was out of Skrilla money and he was looking out for her, right? So let's go. Now, this is the defense closing argument, okay? Do you remember them telling you that yesterday? They didn't tell you that yesterday. Yes, I know they can come up with a rebuttal and say, yeah, it's in the evidence, but they didn't tell you. They want you to go back and deliberate about witness tampering, and they didn't put it in right in front of you, right in front of your face, that she says, I'm out of Skrilla money. What does D-Rock say back? I'm so proud of you. You're my sister for real. If you need anything, I can help. I'm not rich, but I'm not broke either. I love you. Let's talk sometime tomorrow. Now, this is the closing arguments. This is the defense's closing arguments. Okay. Come on, you guys have got to decide this case on the actual evidence. And you guys know that. They should make that job easy for you. They should make you have to go find things in evidence. They should have showed you that. They should have showed that she said, I'm out of Skrilla money. Okay, remember, the prosecution did not show that. They painted this narrative that Diddy was trying to pay Mia off, and was using D-Rock to do it, but that wasn't the case. She was out of Skrilla money. Okay. Y'all know I be saying their names all wrong. I'll get their name wrong in a minute. Okay. Okay, so all right. Okay. All right. The other witness tampering they say happened is with Jane. Okay. Can y'all see? Okay, it's with Jane. Make sure you share the live as you come in. Come on, y'all. Let's get these likes up. Let's get these shares up. All right. All right. The other witness tampering that they say happened is with Jane. This is in regard to those 2 recorded phone calls. So let's talk about that. This is right on the heels of Cassie's lawsuit. And I submit to you, the big issue at the time was, I'm going to, holy shit, are we going to get sued again? Are we going to get sued again? What the heck? From 6 years earlier, Cassie come back and sues me for our life together. Is this happening again? He's not thinking. First of all, there's no evidence and record that there's a federal investigation at the time of these recordings. None. There's no evidence in the record that there's a federal investigation, and there's certainly no evidence that he thinks there's a federal investigation at this early stage. I think it's November 19th. I think the Cassie lawsuit had come out like 2 days earlier, and the judge is going to tell you, it's obstructing a federal investigation. And I submit to you, there's nothing in the record to indicate that there is one or B that he is even thinking that way. But what there's every indication to believe, what there's every reason to believe, is that he's afraid of getting sued. And so listen, those recordings sound terrible in my opinion, because he's trying to stave off a lawsuit, but that's what it is. He's trying to stave off a lawsuit, stall off a lawsuit. He's not trying to do anything with a criminal investigation, because there is no criminal investigation, but he's worried that he might get sued. Now, this is Mr. Agnifilo talking to the jurors about those recordings that they played that y'all heard go out, in the public or whatever, but he's worried that he might get sued. And guess what? When it comes to Jane, he still might. We'll talk that in a minute. Forced labor, Capricorn and Mia. Capricorn, the court, Mr. Agnifilo, before you, in terms of when an appropriate break time, this would be fine. Okay, I think this was the part when I came out. Okay. All right, so they went to break. Okay, let's do it now. Okay, wait, let me see. The court will come back at 15. Ms. Comey, Your Honor, I will have an issue to raise. We can do it now or after break. The court, so they interrupt. Let's do it now. Please be seated. Ms. Comey, Your Honor, I really did not want to object in the middle of counsel summation, which is why I've held my objection to this break. Now, this is the government. There were 3 categories of deeply objectionable commentary that we think require curative instruction. The first is Mr. Agnifilo suggestion that the jury should consider why the government charged a particular racketeering predicate. That's wholly inappropriate. That crosses the line that we discussed the other day. Sounds like they mad. It is not proper to invite the jury to consider the reason why prosecutors brought a charge. Why not? Why not? Why they can't consider that y'all brought a bogus, frivolous case? This is a frivolous case. So it is not proper to invite the jury to consider the reason why prosecutors brought a charge, and that is word for word that Mr. Anifilo just told the jury they should do. We need a curative instruction instructing the jury that the reason for the charges and prosecutor's charging decision are not the province of the jury and not something the jury should be considering. And we need that after we come back from the break, Your Honor. Your Honor. The other two categories are: one, Mr. Anifilo told the jury what happened on the Intercontinental video is assault, and that is a misdemeanor. Number one, there's nothing in the record to tell anyone what kind of crime assault is. Well, how can you determine? Like, do y'all be honest? Do y'all listen to yourselves? So there's nothing on the record to tell anyone what kind of crime or assault is. Okay. And number two, it's wholly inappropriate legal instruction that he just gave the jury. So similarly, we will ask for a curative instruction on that point. Third, Mr. Anifilo has repeatedly suggested that the government has charged Mr. Cohn with kidnapping, arson, bribery, and witness tampering. We have not. We are not asking the jury to find those charges. They are part of racketeering activity, and that is a misstatement of the charge and a misstatement of the law. And so we need that corrected as well, Your Honor. Those are three things that are legally incorrect and legally improper for the jury to hear in this summation. The court, Mr. Anifilo, the judge asks, yes, Judge, I plan on getting on to the RICO conspiracy in a little while. In my summations, I was going to make that clear. I don't think it's unfair. Excuse me. I don't think it's an unfair way to put it. I mean, I didn't say he was indicted with those as counts, but he is charged with the racketeering activity. And I'll make it clear when I get to that part of my summation. I wanted to be clear to the jury as well. Okay, the judge says, what about the other two issues? I think it's fair comment. I think that if the jury thinks that a charge is wholly unfounded with no evidence, they can consider that in any way they see fit. I'm not asking the jury to question why the government made charging decisions. That's not what it is. Well, I mean, this is what you said. Why charge a kidnapping where the evidence is that he didn't have anything to do with it? Why charge him? You're allowed to ask that question and you can come to whatever answer you think is the right answer. What I'm saying is that in my view, well, let me just, the judge interrupts, what I just read to you, which is what you said, you agree that it is not appropriate. I don't know that I agree, Judge, most respectfully. I want to agree with you, with your honor, and I think I mostly do. I think I'm allowed to be sarcastic. I think that if a charge is beyond the pale, I can make that point, and that's what I'm doing here. And what about the third point, which is the issue concerning the Intercontinental video? Mr. Anifilo says the government is claiming that they were motivated by law enforcement concerns, and it's a matter that is, a state matter. There's no reason anyone would think of this, that it should be a federal, what happened at the Intercontinental will ever be charged as a federal crime. And I think that's fair comment. The court, all right, what does the government propose? Do you want to take a couple of minutes to come up with it? Yes, Your Honor. We will propose instructions for all three, and after the break, we'll come back with them. Thank you, Your Honor. Okay. Okay. Are y'all reading? Y'all following along, or am I going too fast? Okay. So here we go. Please be seated. Ms. Coleman, did you have anything? Yes, Your Honor. Mr. Steiner, okay, blah, blah, blah. Let's go and get to this. The court, please don't do it again because it's the three issues that were identified that the government validly has indicated that those would be grossly improper. All right, just to be blunt about it, especially the issues, blah, blah, blah. Let's get back to the closing arguments, okay? Wait, Mr. Pierre will say, Your Honor, I would like to put something on the record. I understand the ruling, but first of all, what Mr. Anifilo did with respect to the matter of the charge was not improper at all. His point was simply there's no evidence here, and the jury is entitled to consider why the case was charged when there's no evidence. And that makes sense. That's the first thing. The second, I just want to point out, we didn't object yesterday, did not interrupt, because Mr. Anifilo can respond to these things in his summation, and the jury instructions will make clear. And that's another thing. Why y'all interrupted him and he did not interrupt y'all? You understand what I'm saying? Okay. Well, let me stop you there because I didn't call out anything. There was an objection made during Mr. Anifilo closing. Ms. Comey articulated the basis of the objections and she requested a curative instruction. That was not done. Okay, let me just get on past this. They put stuff on the record. Let's get to the closing arguments. Oh, okay. Welcome back, members of the jury. Okay. I guess the judge gave them a curative instruction. All right, so here we go. Okay, we're back. All right, so we're talking about forced labor and we already talked about Capricorn. Now we're going to talk about Mia. Okay, this is Mr. Anifilo, closing arguments to the jury. Every indication, and this is where sort of love and money come together. There's every indication that Mia loved working at this company, working with Mr. Combs, loved the work she did. And so this is forced labor. Forced labor. You wouldn't think of forced labor when someone is crestfallen and even suicidal that they've been fired, right? Do y'all remember when Mia had to go and she was talking about she was going to kill herself? I mean, if it is forced labor, you want to get out of there any means possible. But what you remember from the testimony, and I'm not going to belabor it because I think you remember a lot of it. Y'all just follow the lines, okay? I'm going to say the number and y'all just follow the line. It is that Mia seemed to express great love and admiration. 17, for Mr. Combs, at every step of the way, she was enthusiastic. God damn, I can't talk. 18, I'm not going to show you the video clip. I think you, 19, probably remember it for his birthday. You know, pop in. 20, remember all that stuff. That's the real her. 21, what I submit to you, and listen, you guys, what I say about this doesn't matter. It's what you guys think. 23, I think you have every reason to conclude that she took on a false persona in the courtroom. She did. That's just not what you saw on the video. And I felt like maybe I need to play it again. Okay, we on one. Okay, but I think you guys probably remember it. She was bubbly, she was outspoken, she was happy. Okay, 3, I know the government's position is, well, because she wasn't talking about something, you know, traumatic. But listen, I think the evidence is pretty clear. I'm going to go through it, not in a tremendous detail, but at least enough that this was not unwanted sexual contact. And I say that because of a few reasons. But one of the reasons I say is that one point there was a text exchange between Combs and Mia, and Combs says, I'm going to tell Cassie about us. Okay, and he asks the jury, do you remember that? I'm going to tell Cassie about us. Now, if he has now listen, this is Mr. Anifilo talking to the jury. Now, if he sexually assaulted Mia, why would he kind of stir that pot, right? I mean, it's like, I did something to you that's a crime or that improper or something that I should have never done. Why am I going to say I'm going to tell Cassie about us? Because that's what he's inviting at minimum, is for Mia to say, well, then I'm going to tell her what really happened. But the problem is there's not what really happened. What happened is something consensual happened. It happened, and Mia and Cassie are friends. Remember when I was telling y'all that the other day? Why you ain't tell Cassie that you was, you know what I'm saying? And so this is what he's throwing to the jury, all of this doubt. Cassie doesn't know about it. Mia doesn't want Cassie to know about it. And so the pressure point that Mr. Combs uses in that instance is, yeah, I'm going to tell Cassie about us. What that basically should say to you is, this was imminently and undoubtedly a consensual thing or a series of things. When she says that she didn't want to do it, that it was done without her consent, that's just false. And certainly Mr. Combs knows it's false, which is why he's handling this the way he's handling it, and sort of saying, all right, so tell her. What she says is that I was going to take this to my grave. Well, when one person is like, I'm going to tell Cassie, and one person is like, I'm not going to tell anybody ever, maybe the one sort of shining the light on this event is the one telling the truth. And I submit to you that that's the situation here. There was not any unwanted sexual contact between Mr. Combs and Mia. Now, I know it's absolutely possible. We heard platonic love from Capricorn, to have platonic love and admiration for someone. No doubt about that, of course. But I submit to you that the feelings that Mia had for Mr. Combs went way beyond that. And I don't know. Mr. Steele, when he was doing his cross-examination of Mia, showed you all these Instagram postings. I think they're Instagram posting some pictures and some stuff, right? One is just more positive than the next, more positive than the next, more positive than the next. There's wonderful pictures and wonderful sort of slogans. And I know the government says, well, that was kind of her job. So, you know, but it's hard to be effusive and loving and leaning into sort of good times and things artificially. So I submit to you that that's how she really felt. But if you have any doubt, about all of those postings that Mr. Steele took you through, one after the next, after the next, after the next, you can't have any doubt about this. This isn't in evidence. This was given to you as what is known as demonstrative. So you can't take it back into the jury room because it's not a piece of evidence. But what you can see is something really remarkable, really, really remarkable. And this is not part of her job. This is not, you know, this is something she did. If there was ever an act of love, really an act of love, if there was ever an act of love, this is an act of love. This is, I can't imagine how long this took. I mean, it's just article after article. Here he is, a young man, has his whole life ahead of him. Article after article after article. It's remarkable. And you know what? What she wrote is remarkable, and that is an evidence. And you can take that back with you. And it's remarkable that I'm going to read it to you. It won't take long. Happy 45th birthday. Now he's reading a message that Mia wrote to Puffy. Okay, here we go. Happy 45th birthday, Puff Daddy. Puff, sometimes life goes by catastrophic speeds where you never get to live and enjoy now. Things that used to feel unattainable and symbolic of success can become the norm and lose all of the adrenaline and excitement it used to stir up. And life keeps going and going. Each new height reach is a celebration moment in the world of getting to that next goal. All of this to say that I hope on this day that you get to sit back and actually take it all in, of how much you've accomplished, how far you have gone and are still going. So I put together this book of magazine articles from 1991 to 1999. This is from 1991 to 1999 that I hope will stir up nostalgia. Y'all know I can't pronounce that word. Nostalgic. Feelings of when you get, y'all know I'm from the country. We can't pronounce a lot of words. Okay. Uh, feelings of when you get started, how you felt and what a dream to you, then that's an everyday reality. So yourself can tell your younger self how great you've become. Not that you'll ever forget your past, but I hope it reminds you of when this world. Yo, these are willing participants. Happy birthday. She loves him. She loves him. You can't fake that. You can't act that. I think there's every reason to think that what she did in this courtroom with you was acting. Y'all hear Mr. Adnifilo? He says, but that's real. I'm going to go one step further. I think she loves him. So I don't necessarily mean romantic. I mean like almost something purer than that. Like he is people worlds. Don't lose sight of that. He makes people's worlds. It's not just business. He gives people a home. These things that the businesses that he built, forget the business part. I want to show you a picture. I wasn't going to do this until later, but I'm going to do it now. I'm going to show it to you. I want you to read. I want you to look at that picture. I want you to look at that picture and I want you to think of a word or phrase. I'm not going to ask you what it is because we're not in school. I want you to think of a word or phrase that come to mind, that comes to your mind. Just look at it and think of a word and phrase that comes to mind. Joy, family, home, belonging, diversity, racketeering enterprise. This is your racketeering enterprise, folks. This is your racketeering enterprise. There's KK, there's D-Rock, you have Fahim. And let me tell y'all, Fahim was in court on Friday too. I forgot to let y'all know. Fahim was in court on Friday. That's your racketeering enterprise. So whatever word you thought, whatever phrase you thought, that's not what the government thinks, because this is the inner circle we've now heard so much about. This is the racketeering enterprise. And I'm quite sure that this is not the phrase you came up with. The real trial, the trial based on evidence, is that he created a remarkably special place. He moved people. He moved them in their hearts, in their souls, and they wanted to stay, not because it was easy, because it wasn't easy. You better come on, Mr. Anifilo, but because it was worth it. And that's what we want. We want something that's worth it. We want something that's meaningful. And that's what he gave everybody. And it's all been taken away. So when Mia is told that she's going to be fired, this is Defense Exhibit 1728. And she's going to leave this special place. She's going to leave the place that Sean Combs built for her and everyone. She had the following text exchange with KK. Listen now. Listen. This is racketeering conspiracy. Co-conspirator KK, okay? Mia, I'm going to kill myself. My life is over. Racketeering co-conspirator KK. Oh my gosh, what the fuck, Mia? That's not funny. Mia says, I don't think so either. Literally over. Racketeering co-conspirator KK. What is wrong? And don't say that. Take it back. Watch your back here, my love, Mia says. KK says, answer your phone. Mia, this is serious. KK says, Mia, you can't make a statement like the first thing you said and then not answer your phone. I'm serious. So he's showing the jury that Mia wanted to kill herself when she had to leave. When she had to leave. So how is that forced labor? Like, how is that forcing somebody to do something? You get what I'm saying? Like, where's all this kidnapping and this forced labor and all this stuff coming from? Like, let's keep it a band. You see what I'm saying? I'm going to call Yaya if you don't call me back right now, please. Mia, I'm serious. KK says, Mia, what the fuck? You cannot say that not. Answer your phone. Mia, I'm serious. You know, I just went through this. You need to call me back now or I'm calling your parents. Mia, can you please answer your phone? Mia says, fuck, I'm so sorry. I completely forgot. I'm so sorry. I'm with Flora Gomez. I'll call you soon. And Nifilo says the last thing she wanted to do was leave. The last thing she wanted to do was leave. And she's charged with forced labor, and there's just no evidence of it. Let's talk about drug distribution. And where we're going to start is I'm going to read something that the government said yesterday. I'm sorry. The government in summation yesterday said to you, you heard the defense asking witnesses about whether the drug amounts were for personal use, meaning the defendant's personal use. But that's just a distraction, okay? Remember, I came out and I reported that to y'all, how the prosecution tried to say that the drugs that they found in Combs' house was actually, I think it was 0.7. It was 0. They found, no, that was on Brandon. I'm sorry, Brandon. We'll get to that in a minute. But you remember I told you about the drugs they found, right? And how they tried to say that that personal use shit was like cap. No, Mr. Adnifilo is finna get into it right here. That's what the government said yesterday. Here's the charge, and let me reiterate. What the judge charges you at the end of the case is the charge. I'm going to read what I think the charge is going to be, but the charge is not the charge until the judge gives the charge, okay? It says if a person possessed drugs solely for his personal use rather than for the purpose of distributing them to anyone else, then the person did not intend to distribute the drugs. It's not a distraction. That's the charge. A small quantity of drugs standing alone is insufficient to prove intent to distribute. Okay, let's go to the next paragraph. An individual's agreement to buy controlled substances from a seller does not establish that the buyer joined with the seller in a conspiracy to distribute or possess with the intent to distribute those controlled substances, and the buyer contacts with drug traffickers without more is not sufficient to prove that the buyer participated in such conspiracy. In other words, the agreement to distribute from one alleged co-conspirator to another cannot also be the agreement that forms the conspiracy. So here's what I think the evidence shows you. There's not been one single witness in this case, and the government called many witnesses who got on the stand and said, I knew I was committing a crime, and I was committing a crime intentionally, and I was committing a crime for Mr. Cohn when I was bringing these drugs because I thought they were for personal use. And really on this point, Brendan Paul, who only testified a couple of days ago, was clear as a bell on this. He said that these were personal use drugs, and he told you, I don't think they were criminal. And then he says, I forgot to take cocaine out of my bag and went on, and they found 0.7 grams, not even a whole gram of coke, and the prosecution is calling Brendan Paul a drug mule. Like, do y'all see this stuff? And he says, I got the best lawyer in the world, and my charge was dismissed. Okay, so let's look at the three things that he says. I moved drugs. I bought drugs from point A to point B. I did all of that. I didn't, it was breaking the law because it was personal use drugs. That's what he said. They found the personal use drugs in my possession, and my case got dismissed. Now, that's the evidence in the case. But what I want you all to consider as the evidence in the case is there's no allegation, and the government's going to say there doesn't have to be, but let's show what the evidence shows and what the evidence doesn't show. There's no allegation that Sean Combs is selling drugs. Okay. He's made however much money he's made from music and fashion and all different businesses he had. There's no allegation in this case that he's selling drugs. What Cassie Ventura said, I'm probably maybe the person who knows him, maybe not the best, but knows him well, is that she considered him at one point a drug addict. She testified to that. Well, where are drug addicts going to get unless you're going to grow your own Xanax, unless you're going to get somehow grow poppy seeds? I don't know where this stuff's come from. You're going to get it from somewhere. He obviously has a drug problem. He has a drug problem. Mr. Anifilo is telling the jury. There's no question. So many of the different witnesses said this, and Cassie said that. And the government's charged him not with possession of drugs, not just with distribution of drugs, but distribution of drugs as a racketeering act, as part of a racketeering conspiracy. And there's just no evidence of that. Mr. Anifilo tells the jury. Is there's evidence that he had drugs? Of course. There's no doubt that he had personal use drugs. I mean, they found some of it in his house. The witnesses are testifying that there's personal drug use around. But was he using his enterprise? Is this really part of a racketeering conspiracy? That's just like me getting pulled over with a little bit of weed, and they add that into a racketeering. I'm not racketeering, I'm distributing drugs because I'm traveling with a little bit of weed. Little bit of weed. Come on, y'all. We got 61. Like, come on, y'all. Let's get these lights and stuff up. Okay. Is this really part of a racketeering conspiracy where he's using his enterprise to sell drugs, move drugs, have drugs, possess with the intent to distribute drugs? I submit to you the answer is no, but you're going to have to give. I'm going to be straight with you. You're going to have to give this one thought. You have to really think through this because he had drugs. Okay. Now, what drugs did he have? There's Xanax, there's painkillers. And I think he was addicted to painkillers. So he's obviously going to have possess painkillers. There's ecstasy, but what's the evidence that he had any interest in distributing this or in possessing these with the intent to distribute? These are things that he did with his girlfriends. They did them together. There's no indication that he's, getting this stuff so that he could either sell it to Cassie, Jane, or somehow, move the drugs or distribute the drugs. That's just not what the evidence is. And remember, I don't know if I told y'all, but the prosecution was trying to say even giving somebody a blunt to smoke is distributing drugs. And I just think that's puff, pass. They want the jury to believe, and because so many jurors don't know the law, they want the jury to believe that if I give you a little bit of my blunt or my drink, I'm distributing. Y'all really believe? Like, come on, got to use common sense. So what I submit to you, though, is that this is personal use drugs. That's what it is. And I submit to you that it's very clear that the purpose of these businesses, now the government said yesterday that the enterprise is kind of a larger than like Combs Enterprise. The business, that the purpose of these business and the enterprise has nothing to do with getting him drugs. I mean, it's not unusual. One thing I want you guys to keep in mind, and the personal assistants all testified to this. The personal assistants basically said to you, one of them said, my advice was get in, get out, because once you're in that sort of celebrity kind of whatever it is, click just celebrities, you're in the world of celebrities, right? Wasn't it Mia who went and worked for Madonna? Like you're in, okay? So what Mr. Combs is doing isn't really that different. I submit to you that what a lot of other people are doing when it comes to the use of personal assistants, right? You have personal assistants. You know, I don't expect that we're going to see Beyonce in CVS. She has someone to go there. So people have personal assistants to do these things, and that the personal assistants also, as a small 1%, I think was the testimony, part of their job, do truly personal things for Mr. Combs, where they would buy condoms, buy Astroglide, buy baby oil. And he's right. He really got a point. That's where personal assistance, you will not see Beyonce and CBS. You definitely will see a personal assistant. So he's really making the case for Diddy. Like he's really casting a lot of doubt to this jury. He really, really is. What y'all think so far? Diva 2, yeah, he wasn't using weed, but it's personal drugs. Okay. Even the police catch you with a little crack. Normally nowadays they'll stomp it out or whatever, but doesn't somehow transform that minuscule part of their job into what the companies do collectively as a part of the enterprise that is alleged as the racketeering enterprise in this case. So you have to separate it all out. It's not enough to sort of say, oh, he had personal use drugs, he's guilty of this racketeering act, or that he committed this racketeering act and he conspired to commit this racketeering act. You have to also find that this was how he participated in the conspiracy. I'm going to get to the RICO. This is not easy, by the way. You're all looking at me like I was with you for a while. So this is really complicated. And so I'm going to go to the RICO part, but you're really going to understand it much better when the judge gives you the law on RICO and break it down for you. But it's not self-evident. It all involved participating in an enterprise. So what you have to find is that Mr. Combs conspired to participate in the enterprise through, when it comes to drug racketeering predicate, through the possession with the intent to distribute drugs. And there's just no evidence of that. It's not a drug charge. He's not charged with drugs. He's charged with participating in the enterprise through the distribution with the intent to sell. The possession with the intent to distribute drugs. And there's just no evidence of that. Let me show you an example of what I submit to you is an entirely different kind of drug transaction. And it comes from David James. And if you remember, David James says that he is a Saint Tropez, right? And David James says that someone, not Mr. Combs, someone else, they asked him to get an 8-ball of cocaine, okay? And he goes and get the 8-ball of cocaine. That's 8 ounces of cocaine, a fair amount of cocaine. And I asked him, does that have anything to do with Sean Combs? Nope, nothing, didn't even tell him. Okay, didn't even tell him. So it's interesting, the little anecdote, because if Combs, and I think I even went further than that, you kept it from him. Not only did you not tell him, you didn't happen to tell him, you kept it from him. So that's an interesting anecdote for the way to look at the drugs in the context of the RICO, okay? And let me tell you why. Because if it was really the enterprise business, okay, to move drugs or to get drugs and move them from one point to another, why would he hide it from the head of the enterprise? He'd be like, hey, doing the enterprise's work, got an 8-ball for, I think, was some woman. Anyway, I got an 8-ball for so-and-so. Aren't you happy I'm doing the stuff that our criminal enterprise is supposed to be doing? I get that. He's right about that. Like when you're operating a criminal enterprise, you want to be able to actually go. Is the live cutting up, y'all? Hey, what's up, y'all? Is the live acting up? Is it freezing? Because people message me saying it's freezing. Is it freezing? Give me a thumbs up if it's freezing. Give me a thumbs down if it's not freezing. Okay. Coco, it's crazy. Okay, it says, so let me go. Okay, let me see what y'all say. Okay, I'm good. All right, cool. Thank y'all so much. Oh my God. Thank y'all so much for all of those who are still here listening to me. Okay. Also, I don't want you to sort of lose sight of the fact that, you know, I mean, Cassie's doing a lot of drugs. Cassie's getting a drug from Banner. Banner testified to that. Cassie testified to that. And I'm not justifying it, but it's people in kind of creative fields and they're just kind of doing, I'm not in the creative field, so I wouldn't know, but they seem to be doing what people in creative fields do. All of a sudden, it's part of a racketeering conspiracy There's just no evidence that this has anything to do with racketeering conspiracy. Okay, I want to talk about Cassie, and I'm going to talk about the sex trafficking count in the racketeering act. So let's talk first in general. And at one point, you'll be happy to know at one point I was going to show you text message after text message after text message. Look, I can't say the word. She wants to do it. She likes it. She's talking a lot of dirty talk in this case, probably more dirty talk in this case than your average federal criminal case by a long shot. But you guys remember this. You guys remember this. I know you do, and you don't want me to do that. That's not going to be helpful to you. What's helpful to you, I think, is to tell you very quickly the story of Cassie and Sean Combs, and then put their sex life into context where you will see it's just not sex trafficking. I mean, first of all, let's start with the lowest hanging fruit imaginable. It's his girlfriend. I suppose you can sex traffic your girlfriend. If you sell her into prostitution, I think you've done it. I mean, I'm not saying that a boyfriend can't. I'm not saying that I think probably husband and wives doesn't matter, sisters and brothers, God forbid. My client sometimes says, I'm not saying that, but I'm saying it's the sex that they are having. Pay attention. I mean, there's no suggestion that Sean Combs is making money from it. I mean, you guys know that, right? He's not making money from this. This is his personal life. They are swingers. They are swingers. This is their lifestyle. He wasn't thinking a million years that there's anything wrong with it. And it was fine. If you go through all of the text messages, hundreds, thousands, however many there are now, they're a couple and they're fighting about a lot of things, but you're not seeing. And we're going to talk about Jane in a second. Jane has a couple of text messages that are very it's inaudible. Not so with Cassie, because they're different that way. And I suggest to you, and part of the reason I submit to you that Rico doesn't fit the charge is because of what I'm going to say to you now. All right. So people are in love. People are having sex. What does it mean? Like if your partner really likes anything, all right, and you really don't like anything, but they really love it and it makes them happy. Do you still not want to do it? Where does that land on the I want to do it, I don't want to do it spectrum even? I'm not even saying that that's where you are with Cassie. I'm saying the evidence, I think, is overwhelming that Cassie wanted to do this. But part of the reason she wants to do this, I suppose, I think that's true for any intimate partner, is this is how they're close. This is how they're close. If you're close by drinking lemonade, which strawberries in it, lemonade with strawberries has great memories for me. I'm close with you because we go to the beach. I view the beach as differently. My wife's from Los Angeles. I hated Los Angeles. I love Los Angeles. Los Angeles is a great city. Sorry, he's rambling. That's how it happens. Like your lights and their lights become one. That's actually what love is. And that is what's going on with Cassie. Would this have been her choice? I don't know. Maybe it would have. I mean, she's obviously, if she could have kind of like, hold on. I mean, she's obviously, if she could kind of like keep Kid Cudi on the side and Combs on the other, she's ready to go. I mean, she is, like I said, God bless her. She's a beautiful, sexy woman. And that's what she deserves to be. If that's what Mr. Anifalo. If that's what she wants to be, Mr. Anifalo. Now, I know you ain't up here calling this girl sexy. Hold on, y'all. I know you ain't up there calling that girl sexy right up there in front of your wife. Do y'all hear Mr. Anifalo? Right in front of his wife. Right in front of his wife. Okay, y'all. All right. I mean, it says, when she wasn't with Sean Combs, she was with Michael B. Jordan, like the most handsome man in the world. No offense. I mean, she's not messing around. Do you remember when Capricorn, I think Capricorn testified this, said, you should break up with Sean. You know what she said? Jay-Z is taken. Oh, God. Who am I going to date? Okay. She's at a high level. She has sexual confidence. Good for her. So I submit to you, she is not clutching her pearls. I don't think Cassie Ventura has a bunch of pearls in her hands, clutching them. That's just not who she is. And so my first argument to you is that this was her lifestyle choice also. But a second argument, and it's not inconsistent with the first, is this is how I'm intimate with the man I love. And you can want that. If you don't want intimacy, one of them beginning, you could come to want that, and the results is the same. You want it because you want to be close. Now, a couple of specific things I think the government talked about, so it's hard to necessarily follow where they're coming from, but I'm going to try. I thought what they said yesterday, well, they clearly said they're not saying all the free calls were non-consensual. No, they're not. We think that she wanted to do some of them. All right. Now, where are we? Which ones? Like, that's really good. Like, is it that she wanted to do 110 and she didn't want to do 3? Did she want to do 70 and not do 50? Like, once you open that door, where do we go now? Okay. But the government focused on the 3. They said there's one at Canes. I think One was that they mentioned one in regard to Daniel Phillip, and we'll talk about that one, and the one at the Intercontinental. Okay, so we'll talk about all three. The Canes one, I don't know that there's any evidence of that any, excuse me, one way or another. I mean, it's just one that they kind of like threw into the mix, you know. But think about it for a second. If what the government is saying is that, is they're not saying that she, damn, wait, the transcript, what? If what the government is saying is they're not saying that she, that they're all sex trafficking, some were okay, you know, then you have to ask, well, how is he supposed to know the difference? I mean, if we're at freak off number 75 and 75 of them have been consensual, what momentous thing will have to happen in freak off number 76 to sort of say, man, now it's sex trafficking, 0 to 60, now it's sex trafficking. So do y'all think he's throwing doubt? I mean, do you hear what Mr. Anifalo is saying? Like, I think he's casting doubt to the jurors. He's like letting them know, like, listen, that's true, because they did say that, you know, some of them were consensual or non-consensual. 3 was non-consensual, or they was consensual. And it's like, oh, she did 85, but 12 she didn't do. Like, huh? Like, how can you for certain, if she did 80 of them, what evidence do you have to say that she didn't want to do these 12 just because she, come on? And what type of jury would convict this man? No, okay, well, she did 20, but 3 of them were set. Huh? You get what I'm saying? Exactly. She, like, it don't even make sense. Okay. Okay, and none of that happens. I mean, none of that happens. There's no time where you know, she says in a text message, you know, I mean, she gets mad at him sometimes. He gets mad at her sometimes. He sometimes speaks vulgar to him. She speaks vulgar to him, but there's nothing that would say to him, oh, I get it, she doesn't ever want to do these again. You know, she doesn't ever want to do these again. Nothing. And so I submit to you that there's nothing that would ever indicate to him that, you know, this was something that was against her will. Let's talk about Daniel Phillip one. So for cross-examination, I think we established when Mr. Donaldson was cross-examining Mr. Phillip, and I think it might have been on recross, that this might have happened on July the 30th, 2012. And there's been some evidence of that in the record. And this is when Mr. Donaldson is recrossing the witness. Let's look very quickly at the text leading up to that date. This is Exhibit B, like boy 346 on the bottom. Sean Combs right to Cassie. Good. Are you horny? She says yes. He says, how horny? He says, what you been thinking about when you're horny? She says, I think about you on top of me and inside of me, the way you look at me and talk to me like that. I love looking up at you and hearing you moan. In the bottom of the page, he says, one of my favorite times is when we freaked off and then we made love after. I also like when we made love before. And then Jules is in the next room. Then he came in and I blindfolded you. And she says, yes, I like those times. I love when we make love. The last time was so good. When we were at my place, I came so hard for so long. Child, I'm telling you, this is what they wanted it. When I say they wanted it, see, this is what the people that think Diddy should go to jail don't want to see. How can you look at this and say this is sex trafficking? This is some freaky deaky ass shit. This is their personal life. This is not his business. This is his life after work. This is this man's personal life. Tell me, I came so hard for so long. I bet you did. And if you could go in that jail cell what Diddy had to do another freak off, you would. You would, wasting taxpayers' money on this drama. Okay. Then a few pages in, he says, I want you to tell me a fantasy of how you want it next time. And then he says, would Dave turn you on? She says, I don't know. I haven't even had time to think about it. I've been trying to think about you with a girl to get into it. And I think I'm starting to fantasize about that. All right, here's the point. First of all, if we're leading up to this particular date, July 30th, there's obviously nothing in that series of text messages to indicate that she doesn't want to do that. And I think even more than that, it shows the nature of their lifestyle. That's just the commitment that they made as a couple. You know, my fantasy is to have you with a girl. That might not be for everybody, but it is for them. Thank you, Mr. Anifalo. Thank you. This is what the fuck I'm saying. This is what I've been saying. Damn. This is what them hoes wanted it. I said it at the courthouse. Them hoes wanted it. See, you wanted it. That's what I was telling you. You go find a girl. Oh, I want to try it with a girl now. Forget a dude. Now you want Diddy to bang another girl. See what I'm saying? So where's the sex trafficking act? That might not be for everybody, but it is for them, and that's their avowed committed lifestyle. All right, let's talk about the Intercontinental. Intercontinental. So we're going to start with Exhibit 1088, which is from 3/4/16. And Cassie writes, and I'm not going to do that many of these. I know you're sick, but I have to tell you this, and maybe you can read this later and enjoy it. My mother is so happy I became a lawyer. My pussy has been so hot since we've been making love this past week. For the past 2 days, I'll just think about it and my pussy will cream. That's what she says. Now, this is messages. These are messages. Okay. Y'all, my camera done slid all the way down. Hold on. Oh my gosh. Hold on. I didn't even know the camera done slid all the way down. I'm weak. I'm over here going in. Why y'all to tell me that the camera slid all the way down? Hold on, y'all. Let me get this together. Okay. Let me take you. Y'all see me. Okay, can y'all see me? Okay. All right. Can y'all see me? All right, hold on, y'all. I am weak. Listen, them hoes wanted it. You heard what I said. You heard what I said. This is, bro. Listen. Hey, Diddy just a freaking man. My pussy been so hot since we've been making love. This put the kids under the bed. Don't have me on speakerphone. For the past 2 days, I think I'll just think about it, and my pussy was cream. That's what she said. She goes on. She says, so let's do it. Can you set it up, though, so I can just run home and grab stuff? And you guys have seen this. And Combs says, I think if we start at 7 or 8, maybe before the latest, take a Xanax or Ambien and go to sleep, we'll be okay. Because she has a big premiere coming up, but they're going through this together. They're sort of thinking this through together. You know, there was some suggestion made yesterday that somehow Combs imposed this on her, and then she agreed only because otherwise, like, he would ruin the premiere. But I really encourage you to look at Exhibit 1088 because the lead up text messages to the Intercontinental Freak Off show that they're kind of workshopping this together very much as a couple. You know, if we do it quickly, if we don't stay out too late, they're trying to find a way to make it work. All right, I'm going to play part of the video, and here's the point I want to make in the video. The video is not sex trafficking, okay? The video is very much domestic violence, and there's 2 reasons why I say to you that it's not sex trafficking. First, I say it to you because it seems to all be about a phone. This entire situation is about a phone, and I'm going to show you a few snippets. I'm not going to play the whole thing. I'm going to show you a few snippets as to why I'm saying that to you and why I think it's true that it's all about a phone. Now, is it crystal clear whether it's Cassie's phone or Mr. Combs' phone? It's not crystal clear. More likely than not, it's Combs' phone, and I'll show you some snippets, and then we can kind of think through it together. Let's do this. Let's start it and go to 13. Mr. Nifolo, and then stop it when we get to 13. Okay, stop it now. Okay, all right. Look at her right hand. See, you can see the right hand in the mirror. You can also see without the mirror. One thing that's clear, she's carrying 2 bags on her left hand, and it seems that she has something you can't tell what. You can't tell what, but it seems she has something on her right hand. Okay, let's run it to 1 minute, 29 seconds. Mr. Nifolo, you can't tell from that. Stop it now. All right, see something, look something right in her hand, right hand. I'm not telling you I know what it is, but it looked like there's something in her right hand, okay? Now you've seen, so I'm not trying to keep it from you because you've seen it. You've seen when he comes in, grabs her hoodie, throws her on the ground, and kisses her twice, and I'm not showing it to you because it's terrible. You know what it is. Let's go to 3 minutes and 42. All right, stop it there for a second. Nothing is in Mr. Combs' hands. You can see it pretty quickly. Started at 3 minutes and 55. Stop it right there. You see there's nothing in his hands, but now there's a phone in his right hand, okay? So he went to get the phone. He got her on the corner. Her back was against the corner. He went in. He sort of reached down, and he now has the phone in his right hand. Now kind of running until 4 minutes and 21. Okay, stop it for a second. All right, so just so it's clear, the government said yesterday he threw the vase, and maybe that's what they saw. But you saw the vase fall on the floor. There's no doubt about it. He throws the contents of the vase, the flowers. Let's show it again so it's crystal clear. Let's back it up for a few seconds. Okay, see the vase breaks? He throws the flowers. I'm not saying it's good. I'm just saying he doesn't throw the vase. Okay, let's go to 4 minutes and 40 seconds. Still has the phone. Okay, run it. Let's stop it there for a second. Let's just call it all for what it is. Cassie's afraid. He just hit her. He just beat her up. Cassie's obviously afraid of him. She has her hand out. Run it again. Okay, all right. And so that's when Israel Flores show up. And here's what. here's what we're not going to do it just yet. We're going to run it until 6 minutes and 3. And I want you to pay attention to how Israel Flores act, okay? Because there's a suggestion that, Cassie has a black eye or makings of a black eye. And listen, maybe it didn't come in yet and it's hard to know, but certainly Israel Flores is not reacting, and he's very close to Cassie. He's not reacting like there's any kind of physical injury, at least that he can see at the time. So let's run it. Stop for a second. All right. So he's directing them both back to their room, which makes a lot of sense because a pretty well-known man is sitting there in a towel and socks. Okay, in the middle of the day and in a hotel in Los Angeles. Okay, run it again. Stop it for a second. Looks to me that Cassie is saying, go back to your room, go back to the room, go back to your room. He's saying, go back to the room. Cassie's like, you're being a fool. You're sitting here in a towel and socks. Go back to the room. Okay, run it. Stop it. All right, Cassie's talking to him. She seemed to be talking. You can't really see what she's saying, but it looks like she's giving him, like she's speaking with certain authority, certain like intensity, as though like get out of the place where the cameras are and go back to the room. Okay, run it again. Stop it. All right. Look to me. I'm no lip reader. Look to me like she said, go back to the fucking room. That's what it looks like. Lord knows I watched it enough time. You guys, it's up to you. But it looked to me like she said, go back to the effing room. And if she said, go back to the effing room, and if she's motioning back to the room, I suggest to you, there's nothing scary in the room. I don't know if Jews is still in the room or Jews is not in the room, but by this point, they know Jews really, really well. But there's nothing scary in the room. The room is not a scary place for her, because she is saying what's a scary place is for him to be out there with the cameras on him by the elevator bank. That's what's scary. The room is not scary. Okay, run it. Real quick, I'm sorry. So Cassie's speaking to him. Flore goes like this to her, like, whoa, bring it down a little, right? And I suggest to you that Cassie is saying is to go back to the room, like yelling at him, go back to the room. And Flore has to kind of like calm them down. Let's run it from 6:45 to 6:57. You can that's all right. Just run it through. And the other guy focuses on his shoes, shiny. All right, Cassie goes the other way. That's not the direction of the room. She goes the other way. And Flore says that he told her to go that way. Are y'all keeping up? Okay, y'all keeping up? Flores is obviously calling someone in the building. Now look how he reacts. All right, stop it here. He's certainly not reacting like he thinks there's been a crime committed. He's jovial. He seems to be laughing. All right, let's go to 9:21. We're going to play 9:21 and 9:59. 9:15 is fine. See, this is why I don't use technology. I just talk. Mr. Niflo. All right, there we go. Deputy Clerk, it might be that red recording, but you have enabled. I'll give you a spoiler alert. Okay, here's what you're going to see at 9:21 on the counter. Cassie goes to the room. Cassie come out at 9:59. But because the camera is motion sensor, that dot plays no role in the scenario here, because the camera is motion sensor. What on the counter is, whatever that is, 9:21 to 9:59. If you look at the actual time, it goes from 11:26:02. This is the time of day, 11:26:02 to 11:29:44, meaning that Cassie was in the room for 3 minutes and 42 seconds with Combs. Okay, and so again, that's presumably when Israel Flores was there too. So the point is, the room is not a scary place. This was a fight about a phone. Still not clear that it's his phone or Cassie's phone, but nothing. If you go back and look at this, which you can't, it's totally up to you. I think you'll see there's no clear point where he relinquishes the phone back to Cassie, which is why I think reasonably it might be his phone. One interesting thing is that 11:27, and I think this is the time on the upper left. On the upper left is close to accurate, and I say that to you because there's a government chart where there's a bunch of phone calls that Combs is making to Cassie, one after the next, after the next, after the next, and the times on the chart coincide with the times here. It's like between say like 11:30 and 11:38 or so. So that's when he's calling and trying to get her attention, and she left, and he's upset, and he's saying, the police arrested me and all of this stuff, because they did show text messages where he was trying to get her attention by saying, oh, the police arrested me and we were lying. All right, let's go back to, and we're going to be very tech free the rest of the time. Okay, all right. B631 is a bunch of text messages for 5 days after the Intercontinental. Okay, and Sean Combs says, baby, I can't say it enough. I'm so sorry. She says, LOL, that's funny. I'm listening to Sorry on the radio. It's always automatically make me think of you singing it. You see what I'm saying? Do you see what I'm saying? He done beat your ass, monkey stomped you, and he apologized, and you sitting up here talking about LOL, I'm listening to Sorry right now, when you could have left. You could have left. You could have left. And I know y'all say, oh, Gerald, it's not that easy. I know y'all say, Gerald, it's not that easy to leave, but you could have left. If you can go to the bank, if you can go to the freak offs, you could have went home. You could have went home. Well, somebody said what? Okay. They're obviously getting past this as a couple. She says, and thank you. All right, then we're going to go to 1434, which is a few pages in. This is an important. I submit to you. This is a very important text message, which is why I'm showing it to you. Cassie writes to Sean in the middle there. How would I know if the drugs are going to be bad or that you won't drink too much? Okay, they're still talking about what happened 5 days earlier, and I submit to you that that remark of how would I know if the drugs are going to be bad, there's been some issues at the trial. I think we've been maintaining that part of what was off is that the drugs were different. The drugs were off. The drugs were bad, and we actually have evidence of that in this text message. And you have Cassie saying, how would I know if the drugs are going to be bad or that you won't drink too much? There seems to be two possibilities. One, that the drugs are bad, or two, that he drank too much. And I submit to you that it's interesting. If we played the whole thing through, he stays in a tower in a public hallway too long. I mean, way too long. Like, what's up with you are Sean Combs? You know, if you went to Tokyo, 1,000 people will recognize you, and you were walking around in the middle of the day in a hotel, in a tower in South. So what gives? What gives? And I think Cassie's text message is part of what's telling you what gives. Okay, we're looking now at 1091, 1436, and they're still going through. And so Combs on top say, you want to act like I'm not sorry. You want me to keep punishing myself, and I am. You want me to not forget, and I won't. You want me to know I should feel extra sorry, and I do. It's just best that I get myself together. I'm not going this year, and I'm not talking about it anymore. Have a good day. She writes back, and she's trying to make him feel better. Baby, now this is Cassie writing back. Baby, I'm not trying to make you feel worse than you already do. I know you feel sad. These hoes wanted it. Ugh. I know you feel sad and are sorry. Did you tell them what really happened? Then on the next page, she says, I'm really not trying to make you feel bad. I want you to take care of yourself and not mask the sad stuff with partying. It's okay to miss out sometimes. I know we would have to plan it, but let's just talk about it when we see each other this weekend or next week. I hope you know that I only want what's best for you. If we have to fight to get right, we have to fight to get right. You hear this, hoe? If we give up, then you should be able to do whatever you want. Do y'all hear this, hoe? Huh? Do y'all hear this all? So the video is terrible. It's nothing but terrible. It's bad. It's a crime. It's illegal. But just because you can't leave does not mean that you need to be trying to throw somebody in jail. Okay. I understand that y'all say, oh, if you never been through domestic violence, I know if somebody hit me upside my motherfucking head, I'm not going back. I'm just going to let you know that. Okay. I'm out the door. And a lot of reasons because y'all don't have standards for yourself. 2 reasons you should leave a relationship. They cheat on you or put their hands on you. And if you walk into a relationship with those standards, you won't have to worry about a psychiatrist coming up on the stand talking about why your dumb ass stayed. And I'm just saying, okay, you hoes could have left. And it's so funny how y'all can go to the freak offs, but can't leave a relationship. You can leave Kid Cudi, but can't leave a relationship where a man is beating on you. I mean, I'm just trying to understand. I'm trying to understand. Like, y'all got to make me understand. How is it that your mental be working all alone until, you know, you don't want it to work no more? Stop with all this acting. All this to be acting. We can point it out. You are some bad actors. Okay? Bad actors. And Diva 2, if you don't like what I got to say, little boo-boo, you can go home and go to bed. Go do what you got to do. Go outside and smoke you a cigarette, okay? Because I will run your nerves up over here. So go ahead and go on outside and smoke you a cigarette. So this video is terrible. It's nothing but terrible. It's bad. It's a crime. It's illegal. It's unforgivable. They're trying to pass it as a couple. And that's why I submit to you, there's nothing about their relationship that is, you know him, it's not one way. They get through it together. I mean, you know, when Cassie was on the stand, she was very clear. Sometimes I hit him first. Sometimes he hit me first. You see what I'm saying? Now, what Diva 2, what you got to say about that? What you got to say about that, Diva 2? Bring your ass here. What you got to say about that, Diva? Did you just read that? Did you just read what Cassie said and what she testified? Sometimes I hit him first, but it's always women like you that don't think women can be abusive as well. Sometimes I hit him first. That's what Cassie testified. Sometimes I hit him first. But no, you the type of woman that just want, oh, it's a man. What you got to say about that, Diva 2? Sometimes I hit him first. Oh, okay. You hush mouth. Nah, you ain't got nothing to say, huh? Okay, you going to brush your teeth. Nah, Sometimes he hit me first. Sometimes I hit him first, and then he hit me worse. You know, but but they're doing this. They're in this together. All right. One thing I want to talk about is interesting because it's not charged. Okay. Cassie says that there was a rape, that Sean Combs rapes her. I'm going to show you why that didn't happen. Okay. But also equally important, it's not charged. It's just not part of the sex trafficking. It's not a commercial sex act. It's not an alleged act of prostitution. It's a horrible, horrible thing if it happened. But let me show you why it didn't happen. This other transcript, and this is at page 850 at the bottom. Question: can you describe how Sean Combs was acting at dinner? He was just being really nice, playful, laughing, kind of romantic vibes, sort of, but we was just normal laughing. How did the dinner end? Cassie says, it ended with him bringing me home, and yeah, that was it. Okay, let's just stop right here for a second. This is the night she was supposedly raped, okay? And her first answer right here in this courtroom to you was, it ended with me bringing him home, and yeah, that was it. Like, did she miss a prompt? Was she supposed to talk about it and she didn't? Let's see what happens next. And can you remind the jury which residence you lived in around this time? Haraway, where you saw the door with the knife. When you arrived at home in Haraway, what happened? I went inside, went in the living room. He came in pretty usual, nothing weird, and then he raped me in my living room. Okay, that's there's just not a lot of kind of lead up. Like, it just happened, you know. And so I suggest to you, maybe it didn't happen. Maybe it didn't happen. I'll show you why conclusively it didn't happen because of this. Initially, this is the question. The question was that it happened in August. Okay, her initial statements about the rape is that it happened in September, and when she said that to you, she said that in her civil suit alleged that it happened in September, and then she told the government it happened in September. And we have transcript along these lines, page 1231, line 3. And on that date, you told the government that this incident occurred when Mr. Combs returned from Burning Man in September 2018, right? She says, yep. So you told the government essentially the same thing that was in your civil suit, that it was in September 2018, right? Oh, okay, right. So now it's September, but let me show you what happens. Cassie, she goes in and meets with the government, and she's shown a bunch of text messages. And let me show you one of the text messages that she's shown, and it's 1376, and it's from September 27, 2018. I had a lot of fun with you. Thank you for the night. I told myself I didn't want anything to happen, and I'm not tripping on it. I know you aren't either. I'll let you know what I'm talking. Excuse me. I'll let you know what I talk about with my publicist, and I'll keep you posted on that. Okay. Love you. Okay, you really can no longer maintain that a rape took place and then send this text message right after it. You see how they casting a lot of doubt? You see how he's casting a lot of doubt? And that's true. If somebody raped you, and that just goes to show y'all they lying. Look how they lying. How you got raped and then say, I had a lot of fun with you. Thank you for the night. I told myself I didn't want anything to happen. I'm not tripping on it. I know you aren't either. I'll let you know what I talk about with my publicist, and I'll keep you posted on that. Love you. Okay, you really can no longer maintain that a rape took place and then send this text message right after it. But let's delve into this text message a little more deeply, because I think just from this text message alone, you can figure out a lot of what's going on. All right. Cassie is now with her current husband. She's no longer with Combs, all right? She agrees to meet with Combs, but she tells herself nothing's going to happen. They meet and something happens, and you know that's true because she says that. She says, I had a lot of fun with you. Thanks for the night. I told myself I didn't want anything to happen. I'm sure she did, and I'm not tripping on it because something happened, but she's not tripping on it. I know you aren't either, okay? So here's what happened. Now, this is Mr. Adnifilo talking to the jury. Okay, so here's what happened. And you know this from the text message. While they're together, she gets a FaceTime, and she gets a FaceTime from something Boogie Bat phone. FaceTime, all right? So let's go to the next series of messages, and let me just do a spoiler alert. Boogie Bat phone is her current husband. So while she's actually with Combs, her current husband calls on Boogie Bat phone. So let's go to the next page. I think that's the name he gave her, burner phone, okay? Or whatever, I don't know. Combs says, you're going to ignore the fact that whoever was FaceTime you while I'm making love to you, you're worrying about me having friends, and it's apparent you have friends crazy. Then you want to act. Okay, so he's basically saying, what happened? We're making love. You get a call on a Boogie Bat phone. So what does she say? I really don't know who that is, who that was. Oh, Cassie. Oh, I don't really know who that was. I looked at it this morning. I still don't know. So I dropped it. I get weird calls often, even if they're locked in. I know you do too, and I'm not acting like it didn't happen. I remember I had a really good time with you. Okay, next page. Combs says, it's always been fucking up our shit. Always. You act like this brokenhearted angel, and you're just not. The question is, who are you? For one second, I thought love, affection us, but as usual, there's another end, and you question me about girls that I'm FaceTiming me at 3 a.m. After all this time, you still lying. You need to live in your life. You need to stop living your lie. But do y'all see how this is all relationship stuff? This is like stuff, girl, look, bro, look. Like, this is all relationship stuff. They trying to say this right here is racketeering. Do you hear the conversations they having? They trying to say this is racketeering, sex trafficking. They over there arguing about a bed. That's what y'all do. Lay in the bed back there and argue about who your nigga testing and who. I mean, come on. What does she say? You're taking this way too far. That's not true at all. I can't even be defensive with it because there's nothing to defend. I don't know who that was. I don't have ends at all. Not ends at all. And I was saying thank you for last night because I enjoyed it. All right, so she's in a bind. She's in a bind because she got a call from her now husband on the boogie back phone while she's with Cone. See, now Cassie, I told you, ho, you wanted it. And she has to do the oldest trick in the book. I don't know how Alex found out, but he found out. And she has to say he raped me. Boom. Boom, 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 boom. See, Verizon had me out of the courtroom from all of this. But boom, 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 boom. Boom, 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 boom. You had to say Combs raped you because you was fucking Diddy while your husband was blowing your fucking phone up. You see what they do? But this is racketeering. This is you want the jury to send a man to prison for the rest of his life. And Lord have mercy, Jesus. Lord, that deserve a law. Have mercy, Jesus. But he found out she has to say he raped me because it's better than an alternative for her. Because it's better than saying, yeah, I slipped. I told you I was going to see him. I thought nothing was going to happen. Then something happened. I slipped. So she lies. She lies and says that she was AR'd. The problem is that because of all of these, I really enjoyed your email. She can't say that it is September. She doesn't want to give up on the rape because she already told that to her husband. So I submit to you that she sees a text A44T, and you were shown this yesterday. The government showed you this yesterday and said that this bottom text was, I think we could just blow that up. This bottom text, what the prosecutor said to you yesterday was Combs's way of apologizing for a rape that happened in August. Okay, so now we're off September. She's no longer claiming anything happened in September, but she's claiming that something happened in August. And the evidence what it is that something happened in August is this text. And here's the text. I know I look bad to you. I could tell I didn't turn you on yesterday. I fell off, but I'm about to get my shit together. Now, what the prosecutor said to you yesterday is that it's evidence of like a confession. Like that's his way of saying that he raped her. That's what the prosecutor said to you yesterday. This is just ridiculous. I mean, that could have mean many things, but it certainly doesn't mean that. So she says rape because she's sideways with her now husband. She says September because that's when she got the call from the boogie back phone. She could maintain September because of the text message of I really had a good time with you last night. So she changes it to August and says, well, look, this is the evidence that it happened in August. But at the end of the day, this isn't evidence of anything. And I submit to you, there's no evidence of a rape. And what she goes on to say is she then has consensual sex with Combs in October. So I suggest to you, if there was really a rape in August, she would not have gone back and had consensual sex with him. I mean, come on. You see what I'm saying? So there's no rape. At the end of the day, you don't even have to decide. I mean, it's called rape. So I have to defend the rape. I can't let you think it was rape. It's not charged. It's just not charged. It's in the case and it's not charged. All right. I want to kind of give you guys a feel of the kind of nature of the relationship that Combs had with Cassie and with Jane. I'm going to do it by reading one question. I've been struck by this answer since she gave it. And I almost told myself I wouldn't share it with you. This is page 825. What kind of pain did Sean put you through? I was gripping my chair. Whoa, what is she going to say? What kind of pain did Sean put you through? No one objected. You know, she's just going to answer the question right here in public in front of everybody. And I think her answer is remarkable. And her answer is this. I think bigger more than anything, it was his own personal shame and having to carry the things that were shameful to him. So, you know, we use words like love, you know, kind of generically, but here's what she's saying, and this is the thoughtful answer, more thoughtful. She felt he had shame. She felt he carried shame. And the most painful in a sex trafficking case, the most painful thing for her was to unburden him of his shame and carry around his shame. That's what the answer Excuse me. That's what that answer. She could have answered the question any one of a million ways. She could have said he made a prostitute. He ruined me. He did all of these things. And that's her answer. And the reason it's a beautiful is the only person who can answer a question that way is someone who's truly, truly in love with the other person. And all you need to know is that answer, because she could have said anything. And that's what she says. He felt shame, and it was most painful to me was carrying around his shame. What's even more fascinating, Jane says almost exactly the same thing. Line 23 at the bottom. In the context of these rooms, I felt that my partner was trusting me in a very vulnerable moment. And well, so he made me believe this was something really special, that this was something that him and I only did. And I really took that on very strongly. And I really wanted to just go along with these things because I felt like if I can be my partner's escape, then I would be. And I didn't want to judge him for the things I noticed in these rooms about his behavior and the things he liked. And I just would kind of put blinders on and just go along with what he was telling me to do. See, this is that bullshit right here. This is that bullshit stuff right here. It's always I went alone. I went alone. I went alone. It's still relationship stuff. This is not no fucking racketeering case. And this is why everybody is saying free Diddy, because if you're going to charge somebody, charge them right. How y'all got rape in here, but don't charge him with rape if he raped you? Like, come on. But deep down in my heart, with what I could assess in the situation, I didn't want him to feel that eyes were on him while he was in this vulnerable state. So you have both Cassie and Jane basically saying this was this essential, vulnerable, deep part of himself, and he trusted me to go there with him. And remember, one of the things that Jane said, I knew he had other women, but I also knew that the other women weren't doing this with him. So that was her testimony. I knew these other women weren't doing this with him. And so I think one of the things that you could glean from Jane's testimony, what hurt her so much, was not so much that she minded the hotel nights. She was basically saying, listen, I'm going to be a very vulnerable, special place for you. And I'm doing it because I love you. And isn't that an eye opener? If this is what Diddy does, okay, if this is what Diddy does, and you know he got other women, how do you not know? Like, how can you say you don't know he's doing that with other women? And you're even saying, I'm going to be a very vulnerable and special place for you. So you're a willing participant. He didn't force you. He didn't drag you. He didn't throw you in the back of a Mini Cooper and drive you. You wanted to give him a special place. And you felt like doing these freak offs with him was your special place, because he wasn't doing it with other women, only you. So you thought. Like, come on now, y'all. Okay. Listen, I'm going to be very vulnerable, special place for you, and I'm going to do it because I love you. So I don't want to see Young Miami. Oh my gosh. And I'm going to do it. And I'm doing it because I love you. So I don't want to see Young Miami on a plane with you. I don't want to see another girl on a, bigger yacht than you took me on. I don't want to see another girl have a nicer handbag than the handbag I have. If I'm going to go here with you, you put me first, because I don't want to be put second. And that's many, many things. It's just not sex trafficking, though. Okay. And so there's so much about this case. And when I say to you, if you really get deep, and you have to, if you really get deep into these very fascinating, complicated, intimate sexual relationships, but forget sex is almost a distraction. Like intimate, like, man, there's this deep self in all of this. And here's where I am, my realest self, and I'm doing it with you. That's just not when you think of sex trafficking. Is that what you think of? I mean, it's just people in love being vulnerable and intimate and real with each other. Does you want to have an idea of when you're going to ask me? Anyhow, the core, I was planning on one. Okay, let me see. I was going to move to Jane now. This will be a good time. Yes. All right. Let's take a break for lunch. Okay. They went to lunch. Okay. Blah, blah, blah. All right. Take the time you need. All right. Okay. So the judge is asking Mr. Comey about her rebuttal. Certainly no more than an hour and a half, Your Honor. All right. So we're looking for charging and Mr. blah, blah, blah. Okay. The court now will tell you the jury once they're in the room. Afternoon session, please be seated. We'll check blah, blah. One thing is blah, blah. Let's skip through. This is just other stuff. Welcome back, jury. All right, here we go. All right, y'all sticking with me. We riding this out, baby. I'm reading this whole thing. Okay, if you got to go to bed, go to bed. I know y'all got to go to work tomorrow. I came up here late. I'm sorry. But it'll be up here for y'all tomorrow. Okay. Oh, Lord. Now I'm over here sweating. I got to turn this AC on in a minute. It get cold 1 minute and then it get hot. All right. Mr. Nifilo says, thank you all for working so hard today and paying such close attention. I have one last couple of things about Cassie, and then I'll move on to Jane that I neglected to say. There was some suggestion at this trial that somehow like Cassie didn't get that support and attention as an artist and other artists that Bad Boy got. And while I think Capricorn is a perfect witness, in some ways, I think one of the things she does know about is what she said about Cassie is that in 2007 to 2010, I think she said that Cassie got the lion's share, is the way she put it, of the resources and attention from the production company from Bad Boy. And that after that, other artists came on, joined Bad Boy, and then she sort of had to share the support and attention with other artists, but there was no perception from her part, and she would know because she was hands-on with Cassie that she was somehow, being given less resources than other people, or that, her music wasn't being supported. I think if you listen to Capricorn take on this, I think she was looking to be appropriately polite about it. She said Cassie is a studio musician, and remember, I asked her, what does that mean? And so she says she's not like Beyonce or someone like that. She's talented, but she's not one of these great natural talents with a microphone that work the magic like some of the great artists that we know of. So I think there's really nothing to all of that. I don't think there's really any suggestion and evidence that credible that sort of Mr. Cohn was holding her back. You see quite the opposite. She's obviously did movies. She went to South Africa and did movies. She was busy. She was active. She put out, a tape. Maybe they make a lot of money, but there's really nothing. I think she rose and fell on her own merits. I think when she testified, I don't know that she's really done anything since meaningful. So it's not as though that she left Bad Boy and had the top records and, changed the scope of her career. So you can really say, wow, if we look at the whole arc of her career, it really took off after she left Mr. Combs and Bad Boy. There's just no evidence of that whatsoever. The evidence is what I think she said is that she was going to do a tour. I think she was going to go to New Zealand, Australia in the fall of 20. Around time she filed the lawsuit, so 2023. And when she got the lawsuit proceeds, she's canceled the tour. So 20 million will do that. It sure will, Mr. Niflo. 20 million will do that. Okay, make you cancel a tour. You ain't gonna go on tour no more. So, I think that's a fair read on it. Also, there's really nothing meaningful. I submit this bit like I had the freak outs because I was afraid of him being violent. He was violent at the time. I don't think there's anything really in the credible evidence to link the two. They were together. There's problems. Their problems weren't about violence. You'll see some text messages where she's angry, he would hit her and they would be violent. And of course she would be. But I really think that she spent most of her time, on jealousy, on Mr. Cohen being with other women, at the same time that she was being with other men. So with that, we can move on to Jane. I want to start with the recordings, and you guys noticed this, so I might be stating the obvious. Neither side played any of the videos for the witness. We didn't play them for Cassie. We didn't play them for Jane, and I'm sure the government probably feels the same way. I think that's probably the party's way of being respectful about this sensitive evidence as we can be. But what you guys have to keep in mind is it's evidence. So what I'm asking you to do is feel free to watch the videos. Videos are important evidence. They're sensitive, but they're important. So you almost have to take on the role of like a doctor and just say, all right, I'm going to sort of divorce myself, which is hard to do. And I'll tell you why in a minute. I'm going to divorce myself from the fact that I was never meant to see these. I was never meant to see these videos. And yet, there are many of the ones from Cassie were on her device, not an irrelevant fact. I submit they were on her device. She kept them on her device for 6 years. And one thing she said, and I think it's interesting, she was like, well, it didn't work. It was on my iPad or laptop or one of those things, but it didn't work. It was damaged by the rain. But when the card examiner from the Department of Homeland Security examined it, he said it worked fine. So I don't think it's really true that it didn't work because the expert was able to open it and was able to look into it. Why am I saying that? Listen, I don't know what role these video played, if any, in Cassie's life after she left Mr. Combs, but she certainly didn't go in and delete them. Okay. She certainly didn't throw that evidence away. And what we know for a fact is that they only were on her device, which was working and which was then examined by the folks at the Department of Homeland Security. And they extracted the videos from there. So that's just, part of the things to consider. But let's talk about the videos generally for a second. They are essentially, I submit to you, a date night. That's all it is. Sometimes they've given them ratchy names, raunchy names, racy names like freak outs or hotel or king nights, but it's really a date night. And if you end up watching the videos, if that's what you choose to do, and you got, damn, is it that bad? I feel like when he keeps saying that, I feel like it's bad. I'm doing just fine, Destiny. How are you doing? Ain't this crazy, y'all? Sometimes they're giving the ratchy names, racy names, raunchy names. And if you end up watching the videos, if that's what you choose to do, and you guys can handle your deliberation any way you want, there are certain things that and you probably seen them. So I'm not saying this, so you have to see them again. The hotel rooms are beautiful. The music is nice. I think there's Bryson Tiller and Usher, and the music is beautiful. It's a nice mood, When you watch these videos for the first time, you have no idea. You have no idea, you're in a federal courthouse and in a racketeering sex trafficking trial. Man, now they're going to make me watch videos. Like, what am I going to see? And what you see is certainly something that you're not meant to see. And I think that could be a little jarring. It could be, I'm not meant to see this, and it's because you weren't. You guys were never meant to see it. And if the circumstances didn't happen the way they were, no one would have ever seen it. And one thing I want to make a point, since we're on this point, is there were times, I'm going to release the videos. I'm going to release the video. That's like saying I'm going to kill you. That's just, I'm angry. There's no way on God's green earth Sean Combs is going to release one of these videos. 0.000% chance. Never. He was worried about the Intercontinental video being released. He would be very worried about these videos being released. I think everybody knew that. Damn, they that bad. Sometimes he talks, he might have said that from time to time, but there's no way that he's going to release any of these videos. And I submit to you that there's no way anyone thinks he will. But looking at the videos is, you've heard some of the testimony, mostly from Jane. There's a nice dinner before they go to a nice hotel. These are lovely. That part out is that it consistent or inconsistent with how, many people choose to be intimate, and what you really have left is kind of this beautiful evening. The music is nice. Damn, he rambling. The mood seems, friendly and easygoing. Everyone is smiling and laughing. Forget the sex part. They're hanging out. They're eating food. At one point, Cassie is eating watermelon. People are hanging out, having a nice time, listening to music, and that was the escape as much as the physical intimacy. And I think what the two escorts they were called to testify at the trial said is, there's a lot of talking. There's a lot of hanging out. One of the things that's interesting is, Phillips, and I always call him the Punisher. That's not the name his mother gave him. He got the name playing basketball, Sheree Hayes. They both really thought that like Cassie was into them, like, oh yeah, that's Cassie. I'm special to Cassie. I didn't know exotic dancers could be so naive, but they were. So there's a real genuine intimacy and just nice quality to these evenings. They're not aggressive. They're not, I submit to you that the physical intimacy is not aggressive. You've seen it. It's very standard. It's very, sort of typical, homemade porn. That's really what it is. And I don't think by any stretch of the imagination, this is the only man in America making homemade porn. I'm not under the impression that this is a pretty popular thing nowadays. So let's look at it in context in which it is in. So let's get to Jane now. Jane is a little different than Cassie. Jane, if you had to kind of like really get to, y'all know who Jane's in, right? Get to the essence of it. I think what Jane is about is she really likes trappings, put it that way. How many times did she say, I didn't get anything postable? She wanted stuff she could post, I guess, on Instagram. I didn't get anything postable. She wants beautiful trips because I think she likes beautiful trips. But, there's nothing like posting a villa, in Turks. There's nothing like posting a yacht, and so that's what it is. That's what she's into. And I think she really did love Sean Combs. And I think Sean Combs loved her true, but she's a little bit more. I would call focus on what I'm getting out of it that the world can see. I'm weak. Oh my gosh, right. I want to take great pictures. I want nice things. I want to have nice bags. I want to have nice just stuff. So she's a gold digger. So that's a lot of what motivate her, I think. And listen, you guys, know who her baby father is. You guys know. And you guys also know when she was in Vegas. Dang. You know who she was with in Vegas. You guys know that. So she is comfortable being in that sort of strata like this. Isn't, he's special in a lot of ways. He's not really special like that to her. That's just how she moves. He just kind of fits in like that. So let's look at a couple of things. So the first government said the same thing about Jane that they said about Cassie. They're not saying that every single hotel night was sex trafficking. So it raises the same exact question. Well, then which ones and how Sean Combs is supposed to know the difference? And they did isolate a couple in the first one. I remember they isolated was September 23. So let's look. And if I remember right, this is all like jealousy over a yacht. I think someone went on a yacht and she didn't go on the same yacht, and she's sort of jealous over the same yacht. Let's do the lead up to it. This is defense exhibit 3327. She's on a plane. If I remember her testimony right, she's on a plane. She gets a text of Cowboys for Angels. So what you're seeing here on the top is that she is liking a message, Cowboys for Angels. Combs sent a message, Cowboys for Angel, and she likes it. I think this is from the plane. What is he to think? What he's to think is that he sends out, a message to Cowboys for Angel, and she's like it. So we go forward and we try to make that happen. Next message, 3187. Cowboy comes and she doesn't like the guy. And this happened quite a few times, a handful of times, more than once or twice, where Jane just didn't like the guy. And every time she didn't like the guy had to go. There was one guy she said she just didn't like how he looked. I think she said he smelled. She said another guy she wasn't attracted to. And when that happens, the guy is sent packing. So 3130C, they are willing participants. They are unindicted co-conspirators. She's up here choosing which guys she like and stuff. You see what I'm saying? You see what I'm saying? This is a mess. What we see is Cowboys get sent over. Cowboy gets sent packing. Why does he get sent packing? It says the bottom for her bum ass cowboy. She doesn't like the cowboy, but guess what? They paid $1,000 for a bum ass cowboy and no sets. So we'll get to this in a minute. But this whole notion of like paying for sets, paying for time, got paid, no sets. Y'all remember when I told y'all, is it getting paid for time? Paid for time. I know the government yesterday, the way they handled the paying for the time thing was just literally not talk about it all and be dismissive. But that's what just happened. That's what just happened here. Bum ass cowboy pay $1,000 for a bum ass cowboy with no sets. All right. What she then does, if you remember, is she calls Cabral, and they sometimes call Cabral chef because Cabral's a chef. And so Cabral comes, and I think you can see from the evidence that Jane likes Cabral. They just get along, you know. And then we have text from a week later, 3191, and what they're talking about is they're looking at the videos from the time with Cabral and saying, I can't even look. It would drive me crazy. You might blow up, daddy, like a locomotive. I don't see how the government says that this is sex trafficking, but they say it. And this is one of the three that they're saying is sex trafficking. You know, she wanted it to happen. She called her guy. She called Cabral. It happened. They made videos. Thank you. How can you call somebody for a freak off and then the government turns around and says, you know, that it's sex trafficking? You know, she wanted to happen. She called her guy. She called Cabral. It happened. They made videos. They watched it a week later and talk all my clients. No, excuse me. They watched it a week later and talk of my client. That's when the so-called sobriety party, October 2023. At this point, Jane really wants Combs to be healthier. And, you know, you got to drink less. You got to do less drugs. You have to eat better food. And so they have this sobriety party. And what happens is she's angry at the end at this point over Gina. That's what she's angry about. She's angry over Gina, and she's angry over Gina a lot. She basically told you guys when she testified, I didn't really want to do it. I didn't really want to do it, but I want to focus on you. On one part of our cross-examination is page 5643. It's questioning by Mr. Garagos. And the question is, and you had agreed to do it, right? Unfortunately, yes. You keep saying unfortunately, but you had agreed to do it, right? Yes. You regret now that you agreed to do it. Is that fair? I resent him for knowing how much I loved him and knowing I couldn't say no to him. Oh, my gosh. My question is, you regret that now, right? I resent him for it. Yes, you resent him for the fact that you did the sobriety party. I resent him for all of it, right? And you regret it, right? I believe resent and regret lie in the same feelings. Here's why I'm reading this to you, jury, because I think you can really see this as very, very, very important dynamic in this case. People do things because they wanted to at the time. And when she said, you know, when Mr. Garago said, did you agree to do it? And she says, unfortunately, yes, she's regretting that she made a choice that maybe years later would have made a different choice, or maybe she wouldn't. Maybe she just regrets it. But we can't look at things like, you know, criminal conduct looking backwards. You know, it's going on at the time. What's going on at the time? She's agreeing to it. He is hearing her agree to it. That's it. That's really it. She's agreeing to it. He sees her agree to it. She regrets it. She resents him for it. That all comes later. Regret is not the same as intent at the time. It doesn't work that way. You can regret things later. And I think typically you regret things that you wanted to do. I think that's just a very human nature sort of response that you don't regret things when someone truly made you do it. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. He's making a good argument to the jury. There's nothing to regret. It had nothing to do with it. When you made a choice, you made a choice as a matter of your personal responsibility. And then later you wish you made a different choice. That's called regret. And that's what she said. Resentment, regret, as she said, is basically the same thing. So bottom line is she agreed to it. That's all you need to know. We can be done with it. We can be done with it. She agreed to it, y'all. Yeah, they got paid. Exactly. I'm hearing him. His son, they got sued again. A few other things I'm going to talk about. Then I'm going to talk about June 18, 19, 2024. I touched on the house. You know, I talked about damned if you do, damned if you don't, and no good deed goes unpunished. She has a crappy crap. I mean, we heard someone come in here and say she had the world's best lawyer. I think she had the world's worst lawyer. I mean, she had a back lawyer. I don't know whoever cut the deal with her child's father. That's a pretty crappy child support deal, in my opinion. She probably deserved, damn, he going off on her. Oh my God, she probably deserves more. And guess who's giving her more? The one who has no responsibility for that woman's child at all. So you had talked about like who's doing it, who's doing the right thing, and who's doing the wrong thing. There's only one way to look at the house that he's paying for, is that he is doing the right thing. He is picking up the ball for someone who seems to have dropped the ball with his own kid. Okay, so the house, forget the house. Ooh. So basically, what they're saying is that Diddy is doing what, you know, Diddy ain't doing. He hasn't changed. Or you're going to come testify at my racketeering trial. You know what? He made a deal and he kept it. Good for him. There should be more people like that. So forget the house. If they're going to get up here on rebuttal and say the house leads to sex trafficking, just don't go that way, because that's not right. One other thing that we see with Jane that we didn't see with Cassie, I don't think, certainly not as much. So Jane and Mr. Combs watched a lot of pornography, and I think Jane said they watched something called Black on You porn or Black something. I want to pretend like I never heard of these things. I don't know what they're called. So, they found Cabral, and they also found Antoine, okay? And that became their thing. They were a little bit more like into the porn scene, really directly, like as a commitment that they made. They were going to watch porn. They were going to watch porn actors. And Jane was very clear. She was the one who kind of found and really reached out and made this sort of a reality for her, as she kept saying, my lover and my partner, who she really does seem very consumed to try and take care of, take care of that way, to her credit. But she would sort of reach out to Cabral. Cabral would come over. They would be with Cabral. Antoine, she met Antoine the same way. Antoine would come over, and they had a really strong kind of homemade porn bent in the way they got along. She got him a screen for his birthday one year so that, she said, so he can watch more porn, make less porn. I think that's one of the things she said, and I'm not sure it really works like that. I think once you made the homemade porn commitment, I wouldn't know you're there, right? Okay, so I think that is just, but that's like their thing. Let's talk about June 18, June 19. This is a very, very important incident. So I'm going to go through it in a lot of more detail. There are a lot of pictures, a lot of things to show you. You seeing them all. I'm not going to do it that way. I'm not going to give you a timeline because it's important. There's a photograph. I'm sure you remember. There's a photograph of 8 glasses on the table, 2 sets of 4 glasses. There's like a big wine glass, kind of like a champagne flute, champagne wine glass, and 2 shot glasses. She takes that picture at 7:01, the picture on her counter. At 7:03, she takes a selfie of herself. At 7:35, there's a picture of Sean Combs sitting on the chair, and he has the big wine glass, the glass that holds the most liquid. I would say it's more than a half full of wine. There's a couple like strawberries in there too, but it's a lot of wine. It's not like, a little cheap pour at a nice restaurant. It's really good heap and pour wine. And he's sitting on this chair with this glass of wine. Then at 8:31, you probably remember this, Combs is standing in the room, already has a red light in it, and Combs is sort of standing in the corner of the room. Then at 8:34, and this is going to be significant, I'll tell you why. 8:34, Combs is standing near a window, and that's important about that is you can see out the window that it's twilight. So the time seems accurate. You know what I mean? Sometimes UTC time, what time is it? It's the way Los Angeles will look on June 18th at 8:34 at night. So the time are right just from that alone. And what does Jane say? Jane says that about half hour after she took that picture, something really, really inapplicable happened. And I really want to focus on the inapplicable part, because when something and that's applicable, you have to ask yourself why. I'm trying to read through it, for y'all, so y'all go to bed, because most things are inexplicable. Most things are inexplainable. Truly nothing happened. I mean, so many times James get upset because, Combs poster somehow gets in the news that he's somewhere with Gina, or he's somewhere with Young Miami, somewhere with someone else. Nothing happens this night. They've never been physical a day in their lives. Nothing happened. And what does she do? He's tying his shoes. So he's bending over, and she takes the back of his head and slams it into the counter. She doesn't really give an explanation for doing this. And I think all of this is significant. Why did she do this? She doesn't say she saw something. She doesn't say he said something. She said he was tying his shoe, so his head was forward, and she took this as an occasion to take the back of his head and slam it into the counter without any explanation at all. She then starts throwing glasses at him. She's throwing glasses at him. She's throwing a candle at him. She says the candle wax got on him. The best she said was, I was just resentful. But a half hour earlier, you're taking this sort of beautiful picture of him against sort of the twilight sky, and half an hour later, you're waging holy war on the guy. You see how he's making this case, though? Do y'all see this? Do y'all see how Mr. Anifilo is making this case? This is a lot of reasonable doubt. Let me ask y'all a question. Based off what y'all have heard that's in the chat, would y'all convict so far? Just give me a thumbs up, give me a thumbs up if yay, give me a thumbs down if no. Okay, dang, y'all. All right, let's keep on reading. What y'all think? All right, let's keep on reading. How long we been on here? Oh, we've been up here an hour and 33 minutes. They said no. Look like the ladies in the wrong. I mean, they abusive too, ain't they? Okay, y'all just say no. Okay, thumbs down, thumbs down. I mean, this is crazy though. Okay, so Mr. Anifilo said, I mean, slamming someone's face into it, it doesn't get much more aggressive than that. And then doing these things, she starts saying, I hate you. She starts calling him a pedophile. And, so what she's mad about is this woman named Ollie. And the government is very clear. And she was very clear. She's not underage. She's just younger than Jane is. I don't know what, 21, 22, something like that. But Jane's was 36 or 37. Ollie's are younger than Jane. Oh, excuse me. So she's using this word. And there are some words I submit to you that, like, water off a duck's back. I'm a jerk, whatever. You start calling someone that word, that is why she's doing that. Is she looking to get a rise out of him? Is she looking? I mean, she slams his head on the counter, throw glasses at him, throw candles at him, and now it's calling him this word over and over again. And then she retreats into the bedroom. He kicks the door open, goes into the bathroom, kicks the door open, goes into the closet, kicks the door open, doesn't hit her. I'm not saying he should. I'm saying he doesn't. He doesn't. Oh. I mean, I don't know what we kicks the doors in, but he doesn't hit her. That's what she says. Didn't hit me. She gets to the front. She goes out. Okay. And I submit to you. She's right. That's a half hour after the photograph at 8:34. We're in the neighborhood of 9 o'clock, 9:05, 9:10. If her timing is right, here's what we do know. We see the text message from Jonathan Perez at 9:46. So now it's 9:46, and the text message is that they're fighting. Okay. So obviously, probably Combs. I can't imagine who else it would have been. Combs must have called somebody to call Perez directly to say we're fighting. That's 9:46. At 10:14, another text message from Perez, just normal being jealous. So now he's got some more information, and someone has told him Jane is just normal being jealous. 10:24 heard from PD, don't come all good. Okay, let's look at this timing for a second. Let's look at the timing that is sort of documented in the timing of text message. At 9:46, Perez says they're fighting. 10:24, literally the all good sign. So there's a fight that happens. If Jane is right, somewhere around 9:05, that ends at 10:24. At 10:24, we get the all good sign from Jonathan Perez. So let's go through the action. What Jane says is after the doors are kicked in, she is in the closet and she takes this opportunity to change now, but she doesn't change. She changes to another dress. I mean, I don't know, we know she's an active person. Mr. Clark was brought out. She's active. She works out. She's in her closet, no sweat. She's really planning on running, but she has different dress. There's so much about this evening that makes no sense. And I'm not able to make sense out of any of it. It's going to make no sense when I'm done too. I have news for you. So she says she changes into another dress and she runs out. Combs stop her. I think he kicks her. She falls. He get her in some kind of around the neck. He pulls her up, but then she leaves. He doesn't strike her. He doesn't do any of that. She leaves. She says she goes and hides behind a wall. She doesn't have a phone or shoes. She goes and hides behind a wall for 2 hours, but she doesn't have a phone. So she doesn't know how long it is. I submit to you that's not possible. It's not possible given the timeline that we see from the text message. I submit to you it's much quicker than that. It's not 2 hours. She's wrong or lying. I don't know why she would lie about it. Honestly, I think she's just wrong. I think that's not an accurate fact. She says she comes back and then she comes back. Combs is sort of in the street and kind of like intercepts her before she gets into the house, but there's no violence then either. So look at all that's happened. I mean, I told you everything that happened. She runs out, comes back, still no violence. They go up to the patio. They're in the patio. She's very clear. She punches him in the face or in the head. And I think, and let's just put it out there the way it is. She has you look at that picture of her from the video. She has something going on with her left eye. She has something going on with her left eye. It looks like she got hit in the left eye and something up there. What it looks like is she got hit twice. Okay. I don't know. I mean, he's a strong guy. If he hauls off, I don't think it might look worse than that. But that's what, oh my gosh, Mr. Mark. This is what I get when people was at the courthouse saying it was a little cringy. I see the little, yeah, I'll be at court tomorrow. Guilty of something, that would be one. And you know what? I mean, some of the stuff that he's guilty of, they didn't even charge it. There's obviously physical contact, and if we're going to keep true to what we say in the opening, there's physical contact, clear as a ball. He hit her twice. She hit him. He hit her twice. And then she says that he drags her into the yard and keeps hitting her. I don't know if the injuries look like that. I mean, what you see and you can play, the best, bestie. I mean, she's like, no, I wasn't doing like bestie. I mean, what that was. She was documenting her injuries because she has injuries. So that all happens. So now it is 7 hours from all good message from Jonathan Perez. It's 5:19 in the morning. And there's a 43-second call between Jane and Antoine. Now, there were calls made before that didn't seem to go through because I think they come up as zero in the sort of timeline. But this is one. It's 43 seconds long and it's at 5:19. So you have 7 hours from the all good signal, the all good message at 10:24 until 5:19 when the calls Antoine calls her. Okay, so there's a lot about this night that just doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. Things escalated so badly. It doesn't make sense why she decided to be so physical in such an extreme way. And the Antoine thing is interesting because let's talk about Antoine for a second. Antoine is a porn star. She found Antoine. Y'all know Antoine. Y'all know Antoine. She brings Antoine in. Okay, over January 2024, Combs and her are not really seeing each other, and she goes to Las Vegas. And she told you about this. She's in Vegas with someone who you guys know it is. You know, a rapper of some prominence and his wife or girlfriend. And lo and behold, who is in a hotel room having sex? Antoine. Antoine's in a hotel room, the same Antoine she knows, the same Antoine she brought into their life. And so basically what he's telling the jury is they do this shit. She's a whore. Jane Doe is a porn star. Okay? She's a freak off. She's an escort. We can't be criminalizing freak offs now. Antoine is in a hotel room. She brought it to the like coincidence in the hotel room in Vegas. Okay, so here's what she says she does. We didn't question her. If we did question her more than a couple of questions, that's because I guess it matters and it doesn't matter. But let's look at what the evidence was. She says she's in a hotel room. I don't know about 6-7 people. Antoine is there. Antoine is having sex with somebody. She's watching this with the other people. The question is, what did you do? And she said, I showed my breast. I mean, it sounds like spring break, you know, now that I would know. But so what does that mean? What's going on here? Like, why is Antoine there? She showed her breast. Is she worried there's like a photo of it? Why would she even say that? And then something really interesting happened. And it's not for the reasons I say that she says it. The rapper and his wife go up to her and ask her a question about kind of swingers lifestyle. And she gives them Cabral's phone number. So we take all these events and we package them together. I know what happened in Vegas stays in Vegas. And it certainly did here. But what happened in Vegas? And you're just not going to know because I don't think any of you think this story makes sense. So let's say this happened. Let's say this didn't happen and something else happened in Vegas. Something else happened with Antoine in Vegas and that she's not saying, is it just a coincidence that the Antoine? So basically he's trying to say maybe it's a free call. Is it just a coincidence that Antoine from Vegas is the one who comes to the apartment later that morning because he does of all his people? Antoine, the same one that she met in Vegas, that's just a coincidence. Sometimes do happen, huh? But usually it's not. A lot of people say, I don't believe in coincidences. I don't think you should believe in this coincidence. You guys, there's something she didn't say about Vegas that you would need to know to make more sense out of what happened on June 18, June 19, because it doesn't make sense. That happens to be the same person that she saw in Vegas and that Combs didn't know about. I mean, this is all the stuff he didn't know. Remember, you saw in the text message, you know, he keeps saying you went to another freak off. You went to another's freak off. You went to another man's freak off. That's what he kept saying. So he didn't know about this. This is something she did in secret and kept the secret from him. But you see how Jane is an escort in a hole and she up here testifying against Diddy. Like, come on. Y'all really want the jury to find this man guilty about over this? Now, I submit to you that she says about the events of that morning, Antoine gets there, makes no sense. Antoine comes, she calls, she knows he's coming. If Antoine is coming over, it's for one reason and one reason alone. Antoine is someone that she found as a porn star. And if Antoine is coming over to the house, you got to believe it's probably to have sex. And so now that she puts on clothes, she gets in her car, she drives to the back gate, she goes and lets Antoine in. She makes that choice. There's no force. You know, I think they had a fight. I think there's a lot of ways you could look at that. I think one of the ways you could look at this is, you know, by this point, it's June of 2024. She knows there's an investigation into Sean Combs. Did she do this? Did she prompt this? Did she want this to happen? She doesn't say that. And why would she? Maybe she would. Maybe she has designs on something in the future. But one thing you really are just left with is that her story, and you all need to go further than this. Maybe her story makes no sense. Excuse me, y'all. The whole night makes no sense of why she was so violent and sort of so persistently violent and so extremely violent. And you know what? I submit makes no sense is she says, I didn't want to do it, but she went and let Antoine in. So I submit to you, they were trying to get past the evening. The evening. There was a fight. There was some kind of fight. A long time passed and they were trying to get past the evening. And what she says is there was oral sex. There wasn't penetrative sex. And, you know, but I think one of the things that you'll see is that Combs leaves early. And what she must have said 100 times on the stand is part of what I really like. What I like most of all, she would say from these nights, from these hotel nights, which then became nights in her home, is that I would get to snuggle with him. Afterwards, we know he left early because at 9:22, there's a message to picking him up, and presumably he was picked up. So that's the problem. You know, she's upset about it. I get it. But at the end of the day, her story has such holes. I mean, the role of Antoine is just a mystery and still a mystery. And it just makes no sense. So I think where you settle in, there's some things you can't answer. I think there's a view of these facts you take away and say, you know what? I think she prompted it. I think she maybe wants something in her pocket. You know, I think he gives money to other people. I wasn't getting what I wanted and what I needed from a financial standpoint. I'm just going to have something. Maybe I'll never use it. Maybe I'll never use it, but I'm going to have it because that, to a certain extent, that's the only way the unprovoked extreme violence makes sense. It's the only way it makes sense. And she doesn't explain it. She doesn't try to. There's nothing even coming close to an explanation. So it doesn't, so it doesn't really matter. It really doesn't matter. What really matters, I submit to you, is they had a fight. They had a physical altercation, one that she really started. They had a breathing space of 7 hours and they wanted to get past it. And that's what I submit to you. The evidence shows about that. I want to talk to you for a minute, not longer than that, but about Don Hughes, the expert. Okay. You guys are here because you're perceptive about human nature. You guys are here because you have life experience. You guys are here because you lived full lives. You're here because you have friends or kids or parents who have lived full lives. So you guys are here because you know how people work. That's why you're here. You're chosen on this jury because you are good judges of people. And we obviously both thought so because you're all here. So you can look at the witness stand. You can see a witness testify and you can use all of your tools to determine, I think this is true. I think this is false. I think this is an exaggeration. I think this person has an agenda. I think this person has bias. I think this person seems to favor the prosecution and not the defense. I think this person seems to favor the defense and not the prosecution. You don't need any help. You don't need any help. You certainly do not need a hired gun to come in here whose job it is to basically tell the same story at every trial. The cross-examination was a little bit long because it was a little bit in the early middle part of the trial. But just remember, that's all I need you to do. Just remember the cross-examination. And what the cross-examination really showed you is that she just tells the same story. She doesn't interview anybody. She doesn't know anything. And one of the things that was very clear from her testimony is that when she has to give actual advice to help real live human beings, she meets them, she's talked to them, she listens to them, she understands their story, she understands details. She'll know whether someone went to a plaintiff's lawyer or called the cops or didn't do anything at all. She would see how people react. She would do all the things you guys do, sizing up a witness, but she would do that in a more intense degree because she has more interaction with them. And in her clinical life, that's what she does. But when she comes in here at a matter of grave importance, like a trial and speaks to a jury, she doesn't do any of that. What I'm asking you to do is trust yourselves. You don't need her. She doesn't help you. Use your own eyes and ears and experience, and you determine yourself by whatever metric and what you think is appropriate about what the witnesses are saying and the importance of it. I'm going to talk about the Mann Act, transportation for prostitution. The government put up a poster. I couldn't count all the guys in it, but it was like 30 something, a lot of guys, right? They called two. Now they proved their case. They don't prove their case any way they want. They called two, and the two they called were Daniel Phillips and Sheree Hayes. They could have called everybody. They could have called anyone they wanted. And you see how this works? If they want to give a witness immunity, you see that happen in this court. It happens more than a few times. I don't want to testify. Well, too bad, we're giving you immunity. Get on the stand, you're going to testify, okay? They called two people. Here's the fascinating, out of 30 people, y'all. Do y'all hear what he's saying? They called two people out of 30 people. Two people out of 30 something people. Why you ain't call all 30 of them? They called two people. Here's the fascinating thing about the two people that they chose to call. Both of them utterly disavowed being a prostitute. Both of them utterly disavowed having sex for money. So when the company gets up here and says not sex for money, I'm not even going to talk about it. They chose their witnesses. They put those witnesses on the stand. Those witnesses said, I'm not a prostitute. I'm not engaged in prostitution. I don't have sex for money. That's a government witness. And you didn't hear any examination of that. That's ridiculous. Of course, that's what you are. They called these witnesses as government witnesses. They got on the stand. They told you that story. They got off in the stand and left and didn't hug anybody. Only one person did that. So now they say they're Walt. And so when I said at the trial of two trials, this is a perfect example. This is the best example I think I've got in the whole case of the trial of two trials. They call witnesses who get on the stand and say, I'm not a prostitute. I don't have sex for money. They let them walk out that door. And then they say everybody's having sex for money. Well, you need evidence. You need witnesses to say that. Were these the two best of the 30, 27, 39? These were the two best. The two guys who A, didn't travel anywhere, and B, were not prostitutes and did not have sex for money. Boom. Why you ain't call somebody that were prostitutes and did have money for sex? Y'all called two people. So it's like, how are you proving your case? They were very clear. There was no discussion of sex for money. There was no because that really helped the defense. There was no negotiation for sex for money. There was no agreement for sex for money. Philip said, I never asked for $1. That was his testimony. I never asked for $1. He said, I wouldn't have thought twice that this was prostitution. This is a government witness saying this. Didn't cross my mind that this was prostitution. So it's supposed to cross his. I mean, there are three people in this room. There's Cassie or Jane. There's one of these guys, and there's him. No one is saying it's prostitution. No one. It's almost like saying we want to put on all this evidence, but maybe we really don't, because if we say too much, then they're going to ruin our second trial, the fake one, the one where we just want to say stuff to the jury without evidence, because what their witness said is that they're not prostitute. Sheree Hayes said the same thing. He says, I come to create a sexy screen. That's what he said. I'm not involved in prostitution. Hunkomania is not involved in prostitution. I'm not involved in prostitution. One of the things he said that's interesting is that one time he came, he got 500 and he left. There was no sex. And this happened quite a bit. There's a lot. There's a fair amount of evidence of that. And so this ridiculous notion of money for time that they wouldn't even talk to you guys about yesterday, that's what their witnesses are saying. That's what their witnesses are saying. If you get paid because you did spend some time and you didn't have sex, what are you getting paid for? You're getting paid for your time. Boom. Let's talk about Cowboys for Angels. Cowboys for Angels, there's documents and evidence. There's text message between Bridget Collins and Mr. Cone. It's an ongoing, successful, thriving business, okay? It's been around for a while. It's around today. And if anybody wanted to order Cowboy Tonight, operator was take your call, okay? They're open for business. They are doing fine. They don't seem to be going anywhere. Okay, why is he supposed to know more than them? Why is if they're in business, they're sending escorts? Do a lot of escorts have sex? I think so. I don't know. I wouldn't know. I think so. But if it's that you're paying for time, and if the two adults meet because you're paying for time and they choose to have sex, it looked like that's not illegal because there are all these companies around the world doing this, and Cowboys for Angels is one of them. How is he supposed to be the only one in the room knowing, my goodness, this is prostitution? Well, if it's prostitution, how are they in business? How are they around? Their very existence is actual evidence in his mind, and that's the mind we're talking about. In his mind, that's in his mind that this is okay. All right. At one point, there's this text message exchange with him and Bridget, and he's mad that the Cowboy could perform, and he complains, I'm a long time user, I'm a frequent flyer, I'm not getting the treatment I want. All right. Sean Combs, okay, not getting the treatment I want. All right. And she's like, dude, she didn't call him, dude, you're paying for time. What you do is on you. That makes a lot of sense. You want to go skydiving, that's on you. That's like the CEO of the company. That's true. It's kind of like a pen pal, because they have them little apps like Skip the Game, where the old people be up there like, yo, I want somebody, I just need a fine, handsome man to walk through the mall with me, and they pay you for your time. Everything is about time. That's what I see. That's like the CEO of the company. How is he supposed to know that someone is not right? This is like the CEO of the company. How is he supposed to know that somehow not right? He's not supposed to know. There's no evidence from a human being witness that there was a negotiation of sex for money. There's literally none. There's no evidence of that. Think about what a different case this would be if someone got on that witness stand and say, hey, I'm a male prostitute. I had a conversation with Sean Combs that I was going to come over and have sex with his girlfriend for money, and he said that sounds good to me. That's very different evidence than the evidence we have. And one of the things that will be in the judge's instructions that you are to decide this case based on the evidence and the lack of evidence. There's just lack of evidence that there was a negotiation for sex of money. There's just nothing about it in the entire case. They could have proven their case any way they wanted, and this is how they chose to do it. One other thing on this homemade pornography, so much of this, I think it was Sheree Hayes who said, I felt like I was an actor. I think one of the videos, if not more than one, Jane is always saying to Cabral, asking, how do you do it on set? It's homemade porn. It's every porn movie. I'm assuming that the actors get paid to have sex, or else it wouldn't be a good porn movie. How is that not prostitution? I don't know. He doesn't either, and you don't either. So there's just no actual evidence of prostitution. There's no actual evidence of sex, for money. All right, we're going to talk about the racketeering count, and I'm going to read something to you. The judge is going to read you a lot more when the judge gets to that charge. Enterprise is a very important concept. The judge will tell you how it works. One part from page 14 of what I think the charge is going to be. An enterprise is a group of people or entities that have associated together for a common purpose of engaging in a course of conduct. This group, in addition to having a common purpose, must have an outgoing organization, either formal or informal, and structure, and must have a core of personnel who function as a continuing union. You're going to get this. You don't have to write it down. That is what an enterprise is. Now let's look at what we know. What we know is that Sean Combs was indicted by himself. No one else was charged. He's indicted by himself. There's no one else on indictment. Here's what else we know. Nobody came into this courtroom. No one came into this courtroom and said, I was a member of an enterprise. And let me tell you how it worked. Lack of evidence. You decide the case based on evidence or lack of evidence. Imagine how different it would be if someone gets on that witness stand and say, hey, my name is so-and-so. I was the number 2 person at Combs Enterprise, but I'm a criminal. And while it looks like my job was to make records and appear and run these businesses, what I actually did each and every day is make sure that Mr. Combs was able to set traffic. I made sure every day that Mr. Combs was able to obstruct justice and commit bribery. This is just basically him saying what the difference it would be. The only issue then would be is that the person telling the truth, there's a lacking in evidence. They don't have that person. So who do they have? They called a bunch of witnesses. Do any of the witnesses say anything about committed crimes on Mr. Combs? None of them do. This is the greatest divide in the tale between one of the two trials because they don't have a single witness. They don't have a single witness who says, yes, there was an enterprise. I was a member of an enterprise. Here's how the enterprise worked. This is what the enterprise did. This is how the enterprise made money. This is how the enterprise maintained itself. Here's how the personnel of the enterprise worked. Here's what the racketeering acts were that we all engaged together as a group. They don't have it. And when the judge charges you that you make your decision based on the evidence or the lack of evidence, there's a gapping lack of evidence of anything to do with racketeering charge, racketeering conspiracy charge. So let me tell you in a nutshell how it works. I'm going to try and do it more from the evidence standpoint, but the court is going to give you the instruction. I read what I think the court is going to say about the enterprise. The enterprise is this ongoing organization, and the enterprise exists through the Commission of Racketeering Acts. And the Racketeering Acts or a lot of things that we've been discussing in this trial. It's the arson, it's the kidnapping, it's the forced labor, it's the drug, it's the sex trafficking, it's the prostitution. So what the government is basically charges that this enterprise existed and continue to exist through the commission of these racketeering acts. And I'm going to get to the conspiracy part in a minute because for the moment I'm still talking about the racketeering part of the enterprise. Is that what the evidence is this case remotely sounds like? I mean, doesn't it seem to you that this is a concept from a different case? Like who? Where's the evidence of any of that? Where's the evidence that Sean Combs was trying to maintain an enterprise through that, through having sex with his girlfriends in a hotel? I mean, it's his personal life. And there's always this tension. I submit to you when the personal assistants will understand. The government would say, well, you know, you get paid this way and you get paid this way. And maybe the company paid for the baby or maybe it paid for the Astroglide. And they're like, you don't understand. This is 1% of my job. The rest of my job is doing all these things actually in the furtherance of the business. This is 1% of my job, they would say. So what the government is trying to do, they're trying to change everything, but the government's changing it. They don't have evidence. They don't have evidence that any of these things are true. This is his personal life. I mean, listen, this is supposed to be a simple, and if you find that you're in the weeds of this great complexity, maybe it's because it just isn't there, and that's and what's there is, yeah, and what's there is, you know, these transcripts is crazy. This is the sets he has. He uses drugs, he does these things, you know, and it is what it is because it is what it seems to be. You know, most things in life are really what they appear to be, and this is one of those things. Oh, excuse me. And this is really one of those things that really are what they appear to be. It's his personal life. It's not about an enterprise, and there's no witness who says it. It's not about racketeering activity in the furtherance of an enterprise. And there's no evidence to say that there is. All right. Now they didn't charge racketeering. They charge racketeering conspiracy. Okay. So they need a racketeering co-conspirator, and they just don't have one. They need somebody, and the judge is going to charge you on this who has to conspire with others to operate the affairs. And see, that's the problem that they're going to have, y'all, is the fact that when you're charging somebody for a RICO, where is the co-conspirators? They don't have no co-conspirators. All they have is Diddy. He's standing alone. That's why I said they're unindicted co-conspirators. They don't have none. So it's not a racketeering. They need somebody. The judge is going to charge you on this who has conspired with others to operate the affairs of the enterprise by committing at least 2 acts of racketeering. Not like assault is not an act of racketeering. Okay, the acts of racketeering are the things that are charged in an indictment as an act of racketeering. It's the kidnapping, it's the arson, it's the sex trafficking. Those things are actually charged. So it's not just anyone. You know, domestic violence is not an act of racketeering. Assault is not an act of racketeering. It has to be an act of racketeering. So what co-conspirator would they possibly be able to put up to say there's the co-conspirator who's agreed with others to commit 2 acts of racketeering and furtherance of the enterprise? And the one that they keep kind of coming up with is KK. Okay, Kristen Curran. KK, now she's was Diddy's personal assistant. Well, she was not personal, chief of staff. The evidence at trial, the actual evidence at trial is not what the government says to you, but what the witness say to you. KK is like the single most helpful person. Everyone should have a KK. All right, KK is like the single most helpful person anyone's ever met. Everybody loves KK. They love KK. I just think that KK thought Jane was bad for business. Everybody else loved KK. They love KK. Remember something, because this is important, because things get spun and they shouldn't get spun. When Combs goes to Cassie's house, and he's beating on the door with a hammer, Cassie and Carrie Morgan called 2 people. And the 2 people that the government really most focused on is the co-conspirators. But let's look at the number that she calls. This is Carrie Morgan. And Casey, Carrie Morgan testified she called it. Cassie, we can see from the phone records that she made the call. So both of them presumably made calls. They called KK and they called D-Rock. Now, a co-conspirator would kick the door in, right? I mean, if God forbid, if John Gotti was at your door, would you call Sammy the Bull Gravano to get rid of him? No, because they're actually racketeering co-conspirators, okay? So they call KK and D-Rock because KK and D-Rock will help them out. And that's exactly what happened. So you'll see this in text message. The government has a chart with all the texts in it. Hold on, y'all. I was getting a little hot. Do y'all see this? That is true. How is Cowboy for Angels still open and they're provided? That's true. That's true. All right, y'all. We almost done. Oh, we 155 out of 220 pages. Good God Almighty. Okay. D-Rock, I'm on my way. KK's like, I'm going to get him. Get the KK gets theirs first. I think at 2:30 p.m. KK says, I got him. They're in the elevator going down. Problem alleviated. It worked not because they're co-conspirators. They're just nice and friendly and helpful. The only and did anybody come in this courtroom and say other than someone who works at the United States Attorney Office and say that KK a co-conspirator, D-Rock's a co-conspirator? Of course not. Well, we call them unindicted co-conspirators. Tales of two trials, people didn't happen. I think one of the most important things that the judge said, he said, I think before we actually started the trial, what the lawyers say is not evidence. What the lawyers say is not evidence. So you know what? There's only one trial. There's not any other trial. The trial is the witnesses. Trial is the evidence. You show me a single piece of evidence. You show me a single piece of testimony that KK is a co-conspirator. You heard with Mia in that test. She's worried about Mia. That's just who she is. She's a very, very nice person. That's what the testimony has been. D-Rock is a very, very nice person. And the government, I submit, makes it sort of sinister that he has security. Of course he has security. Who at his level doesn't have security? So is it a surprise that he has security? None of the personal assistants thought so. They thought it was absolutely necessary for the safe function of him and his family and his property. So of course he has security. Pay attention. The witnesses and the evidence will give you everything you need to know. Don't listen to the other trial, which is the fake trial. Listen to the real trial. All right, real quick, just a couple of things on D-Rock. I didn't speak as much about D-Rock as I did about KK. This is Cassie's testimony for page 645. Question to Cassie. You mentioned you went to D-Rock's house later that day. Can you explain to the jury why you went to D-Rock's house? Cassie says, well, living in LA, I really didn't have a whole lot of people, especially family. And D-Rock and his wife were just always there for me. So I ended up going over there to feel safe. I think the prosecutor said yesterday something like D-Rock was hiding her or taking her or something. They're friends. She's going there because they're friends. She says that a time. Okay, question. D-Rock was like a member of your family, right? Cassie says excuse me. Hold on. Okay, but living in LA, D-Rock was like a member of your family, right? Like a big brother. You were very close with D-Rock. Yes. In fact, you had a conversation with D-Rock that was completely independent of his crimes. Yeah. Okay, so there are just no co-conspirators, no co-conspirators. Co-conspirators require evidence, and there's just no evidence that anyone is a co-conspirator. All right, a number of things that are not charged. This is very, very important. A number of things not charged. This is very, very important. A number of things are not charged. The firearms are not charged. He's not charged with gun possession, and that's a good thing because Homeland Security cannot tell you where the guns were found. Okay, so it's good that he's not charged with it because they don't know where it was. Whatever happened with Suge Knight, not charged. Just not charged. Something interesting to think about. I wonder if that young man really did drive that car with guns to go get Suge Knight. I don't know about that so much. You don't have to think about it too much because it's not charged. Anything concerning Dawn Richard, remember her? Ms. Westmoreland cross-examined her, not charged. None of it's charged. Nothing about that is charged. Kerry Morgan coat hanger incident, not charged. Just not charged. The violence, now I understand the government's theory is that the violence on Cassie played a role in the sex trafficking, and that's their theory. The violence as a standalone assault count or something like that, not charged. Not racketeering activity. I'm getting there, almost done. A couple of things. I want to make a few comments about the government summation yesterday. The government yesterday in its summation said the following is 76, 74. Let's just pause for a moment, take a moment, and talk about the video themselves. You've seen clips of some of them, and some of them are evidence. And in them, you don't see weapons. You don't see the defendant hitting Cassie. Of course, he probably wouldn't hold on to that video like that. Do you think that's fair? What are they doing? They're putting a little seed in your head based on no evidence at all. That's what. Mr. Combs had weapons at a freak off. That Mr. Combs hit Cassie in the middle of a sets and freak off. Excuse me. And Mr. Combs hit Cassie in the middle of a sets and a freak off. Yeah, I read that right. And then destroyed the tapes. Why did they do that? Do you think that's fair argument? Do you think that's evidence? Because what they're trying to do is they're trying to get you thinking this is what they said to you. They're trying to get you to convict Sean Combs based on you don't see weapons, but that doesn't mean there weren't weapons. That's a little sinister. Why are they doing that? You absolutely have the right to ask yourselves that question. Why did they say that? Another thing they said in summation 767, talking about Mr. Combs. One time he made her carry his gun in her purse to a club. She described the defendant using gun as a scare tactic, where there's actually testimony about this. And let me read that to you. Question of Cassie. Who handed you a gun? Who handed a gun to you? I don't know specifically who, but it was some security in the car. Whoa, glad I caught it. What's up with that? Is that on the level? Maybe it's a mistake. First one mistake. Let's go to the next one. 7672. Sometimes the defendant called the escorts to urinate on her, and sometimes he did. Sometimes the defendant told escorts to urinate on her. Question of Mr. Phillips on page 269. Other than oral sex and intercourse, what other acts, if any, do you remember Mr. Cone asking you to perform on Miss Victoria? I don't recall anything else. How many times, if any, were you asked to urinate on Miss Victoria? What, if anybody, bodily fluids other than ejaculate, do you remember there being any in these rooms? So Cassie was actually the one that asked me to urinate on her. Oops, another mistake, huh? You know, at some point you can ask yourself the question, when am I going to stop trusting them? Same goes for us. You can ask yourself, when do I stop trusting the defense? But you can ask yourself, when do I stop trusting the government? And I think you have a reason to seriously consider not trusting the government. Do you think it's really an honest answer that the Department of Homeland Security can't possibly know where their guns were found? This is a serious case. He's charged with racketeering and sex trafficking. Is that really the best the government could do? They could. They're searching Sean Combs' house. They can't put a witness on the witness stand who could tell you, yeah, the guns were all safely locked in the safe, or the guns were under the kids' beds. Where were the guns? How is it that he had a trial? Excuse me. How is it that we had a trial? They brought a big, nasty, scary gun to show you for what purpose? To make you think he's a bad person who has big, scary guns. And if they're going to do that, don't you think they have an obligation to put a witness on the stand to tell you where they were, rather than a witness we can't possibly know? We can't know. The SR team, I don't think they're nuts. We don't control them. I asked them, couldn't you have followed them with a, no, you can't follow SRT with a camera. So does this really mean that every time the SRT is involved, no one is able to tell an American jury where the stuff was found? That can't possibly be true. So is that them doing their best? It's not that. It's not, and that could be reflected in how much you trust him. Did you hear anybody yesterday mention DNA? Yeah, I know it's a partial sample. I know it's consistent with a female contributor. It's DNA consistent with a female having DNA material on the glass bottle in the Porsche. Don't you think that's important for you guys to have in the front of your minds? Yeah, they knew I was going to bring it up. They're the government. They're the United States government, and you should trust them. They shouldn't want you to trust them. Do you really think it's okay that the fire examiner got prints and doesn't know anything to do with them? Doesn't know where they came from? Is that really them doing their best? Is that them being trustworthy? And I'm not picking on them personally. I'm talking about the quality of the evidence. That's what matters. The quality of the evidence matters. And if you start thinking, I can't really trust the people who gathered this evidence and who presented it to me, that is a very serious thing that you have to think about, because you should be confident. This is a very, every case is important. And this one is too. And so my question to you is that, what point do you stop trusting the government? I'm going to talk to you for about another 5 minutes, and then I'm never going to speak to any of you ever again, not personal. So here's what I want to say to you. It's a lot of courage to acquit. It takes a lot of courage to get a jury summons and come into the United States courtroom where one side is the government of the United States and the other side is some person, and listen to the evidence, especially in a long trial, and acquit. It takes a lot of courage to acquit. This trial is like any other trial and very different from any other trial. I think that the evidence shows, and you can conclude, the government targeted Sean Combs. This is where the judge got onto him at. I think you can see that in the evidence, and let me show you why. Nobody came to law enforcement. I wouldn't be able to say that to you if Cassie came to the Department of Homeland Security and I said I'm the victim of sex trafficking, or if Jane came to the Department of Homeland Security and said I'm the victim of sex trafficking. But that's not what happened. The Cassie lawsuit came out. These guys went and wanted to make the case because it's Sean Combs. It's not like every other case. It's not like every other case. And you are a critical part. You are such a critical part of this process. This is not one of the great things that America's done, really right, is they have between every single person and the consequences of a criminal conviction, a jury of his or her peers. It's one of the greatest things we have done as a country. And today, you guys are the United States of America. This is your courtroom. This is your house. You should feel bold. You should feel the courage that you will need to call this as you see it. And I'm asking you to summon that courage and do what needs to be done and do the right thing. And I'm asking you to acquit Sean Combs of all the counts in this indictment. He is not a racketeer. He is not a conspirator to commit racketeering. He is none of these things. He is innocent. He sits there innocent. Return him to his family who have been waiting for him. I thank each and every one of you from the bottom of my heart. That was the defense closing argument. Of course, everything I read to y'all Friday was the beginning, and that's where we started at tonight, is where we picked up off at. So what do y'all think about that? We're gonna go to the rebuttal of the state, and then we offer here. We've been on here 2 hours and 8 minutes. I feel like I'm giving a closing argument. So what did y'all think about that? It's his lifestyle. That dang Fowling, sir. Oh my God. Bad Boy movie coming soon. Time is money for them hoes. I do agree. But listen, do you hear what they said? Nobody went to the police. That feds came fucking with Sean Diddy Combs. That's why. Listen, and this right here just proves to y'all why I was saying this is not right. I'm not a person that support certain stuff, domestic violence, rape, but this is just not this case. It's just not this. That is true. How is Cowboy Angels still open if they are providing process? That's true. Wendy said it's not like he was making money off of them. So no, he wasn't. Diddy was the only one putting out money. Yeah, that was amazing. Thank you. PN2 Ross, what's up? Absolutely great. Well, y'all don't fell asleep in here. All right, y'all. Let's get to the rebuttal from the prosecutors. All right, Mr. Comey, would you like to make a rebuttal? I believe we need to, Your Honor, address an issue. They want to talk about this was just them talking about the targeting, y'all. I told y'all about that. It's not improper, Your Honor. I think that was exactly what my motivation was, that they're tangible things of evidence that I believe impacts on the quality of the evidence, and the jury has a right to not trust the remaining evidence in light of that. Okay, let's go. Mr. Slav is still talking. Your Honor, Ms. Allen is free to discuss the evidence any way he sees fit. This is not evidence. Just let the prosecution argument. They made a pre-trial. They lost. He's not entitled. It's completely improper. Okay. Okay, let me get through this. It said there was a comment made by Mr. Comey prior to close to try to make sure that this wouldn't happen, and then there were pre-trial motions and limited. But even if none of that happened, it is bare raw law that these type of arguments are not appropriate subjects of argument to the jury. And so the instruction that I just read is from the United States. So I'm either going to give that now or I'm going to give it on Monday. And Ms. Slavitt's point is that especially they're going to have to, at this point, break before the jury instructions. I'm going to wait. And Mr. Slavitt's point is that especially that we're going to have to, at this point, break before the jury instructions. I'm going to give that now. I will ask Your Honor to do it Monday. I don't think there's anything critical. Okay, let me see. We'll take 5 minutes and come back. I thank y'all so much. Yeah. You're welcome. Okay. So let's go to the rebuttal. So the judge read a curative instruction decision to the jury. Decision of the government to investigate an individual, or the decision of a grand jury to indict an individual is none of your concern. And that came from Mr. Nifo saying that Diddy was targeted. And it sounds like that because if nobody went to the police, it'd be something different if they filed a police report. You see what I'm saying? Okay, let me see. Oh, yes, sure. Okay, all right, let's bring the jury. Okay. Members of the jury. Almost done. The defendant spent a whole lot of energy trying to blame his victims and the government for his lies, his threats, his violence. He's tossing up excuses after excuses. Make no mistake, this trial. Wait. Okay, the court is calling. Thank you, Your Honor. We're almost done. The defense just spent a whole lot of energy trying to. Now, this is the rebuttal. The defense just spent a whole lot of energy trying to blame his victims and the U.S. government for his lies, his threats, and his violence. He's tossing up excuse after excuse for inexcusable criminal behavior, trying to explain away the devastating evidence that Mr. Slavitt walked you through yesterday. Make no mistake, this trial was about how in Sean Combs' world, no was never an option. That is the central theme that you heard from witness after witness at this trial. The defendant did not take no for an answer, not from his assistants, not from his other employees, and certainly not from his girlfriends. Whether he had to lie, to threaten, or beat them, the defendant got what he wanted when he wanted it. Now the defense has no obligation to do anything at all at this trial. As you heard from the judge, y'all, I really don't want to read all this. Listen, I don't want to read no more of the prosecution. Y'all ain't got no case. Okay. So, anyways, y'all, what did y'all think about this tonight? I'm not reading that shit. We'll see if they shit was a good argument tomorrow at trial. Okay. We'll see if they shit was a good argument tomorrow when the jury starts deliberating. So, what do y'all think? Court is supposed to start tomorrow at 9. So, what do y'all think? Do y'all think, based off that? Because another reason why I'm not going to read that is because a lot of people were saying that the rebuttal was trash and that it was very inconsistent with what Miss Slavic gave on Thursday. Okay. They said they definitely targeted him. Everybody at the Epstein party, such as presidents and politicians, aren't even being brought up. Right. That's a fact. Somebody said he groomed Cassie at a young age. Even though she was of age, she was thinking this was to help her career. Thank you, Valerie. They can't prove their case. I don't know. The jury deliberates tomorrow. The judge will give the jury his instructions. That's going to take a long time, probably about an hour. So I'm going to be out live streaming outside the courthouse, y'all. So we're going to be streaming. We're going to be live streaming tomorrow, okay? Starting in the morning. I'm going to drop a video letting y'all know I arrived, give you a little walkthrough or whatever. But we definitely will be streaming tomorrow. So I won't be coming out of the courtroom giving you anything, any information as far as the instructions, okay? But once the jury has a verdict, we will go inside the courtroom. Hopefully we'll have a verdict tomorrow. Y'all think it's gonna be a verdict tomorrow? You think it's gonna be Tuesday? Oh my guys, Miss Sweet Talk. Yes, we've been up. Thank you so much for tuning in. Okay, let me see. Yep, it starts at 9. Starts at 9. So we're gonna see. We don't know. Yeah, you don't know when the jury will return a verdict. We know they start deliberations. They could go in there and say, all right, y'all, let's just do a quick vote. If you vote guilty, raise your hand. If you vote not guilty, raise your hand. You see what I'm saying? And based off, like, if it's like 6 people that vote guilty and you got 6 that vote not guilty, then they're gonna probably sit down and discuss to try to come up with a unanimous verdict. But your verdict don't have to be in agreement with their verdict. It just all have to be unanimous that everybody, gave a verdict. They said Diddy will be out for the weekend. Well, we'll see. We will see. All right, y'all. I am going. It's hair. I am gone, y'all. Good night. Thank y'all so much for rocking out with me. I know a lot of you all have to go to work. I can't remember, but I know it's like 3 black men. Is it 3 black men? I can't remember. Don't give me the lie. I can't remember. But I do know is that they said when the prosecution got back up for the rebuttal, that that the jury went back bored again, like they was on Thursday when they gave their closing argument. 100% made the case Diddy another moneymaker that worked over everyone. I can't wait to see what evidence they ask for. We'll see. Thank y'all so much for tuning in. I will be live tomorrow in Lower Manhattan at the Sean Diddy Combs trial. Good night, y'all. Thank y'all for tuning in.